Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJLIVE.
I'm telling you, it's a miraculous time because of the fact that we are so busy, and I think that some of the reasons why we're so busy is because of the whole April showers bring May flowers. But within April showers, we have to lock in. We need time to get an understanding of what those May flowers are going to bring and how we're going to present them. Especially going into the summertime. And wouldn't you believe it, I think a lot of us are still getting the cabin fever of the rain and all of the weird, nasty weather that we are getting, to the point where we're just not even constantly thinking about summer body, summer vibes. What is the summer going to hold for all of us? But you know what? This is the reason why we're here. This is the reason why we bring it up. And this is the reason why we're keeping everyone in check, because we got so much going on. And wouldn't you know it, here on the program, we like to do that too. So welcome on in to VRC DJ Live. I'm Rob Roman, your host, and if you are brand new here to the program, we talk about everything about the VRChat DJ community, and not just with the DJs, but for club owners and security and VJs and dancers and even community members that kind of come on the show to tell us how well we're all doing, and if we are doing well, and what some things we can improve on. And wouldn't you know it too, I think a lot of people have recognized up on social media, it's kind of a theme of technology for this month, as we have had Chris Cox on last week, where we talked a little bit about how he's integrating Twitch and being more socially active on social media, and just kind of not really escaping from the regular DJ scene, but kind of moving ahead into the future of all the different technologies that we do have. And our guest this week, definitely, we're going to open up the entire box, because I'm waiting, and I know that these guys have been waiting all week to sit and go, man, oh man, once I open up my brain and start talking tech, it's over, man. We're going to be here for the rest of the day, if at all anything. Breaking the fourth wall of the metaverse with their magic mirror and webcam portals into virtual reality through cross reality, having been featured at many pop culture conventions, as well as the popular MagFest meetup for VRChat, and also integrating a full-on XR nightclub experience, which we will definitely be talking a lot about. Please welcome to the VRC DJ Live Studios, SkyLight and Turtles of PepperCast. Guys, welcome on in. I feel like we haven't talked for a couple of weeks, but at the same time, y'all been busy. And maybe it was today. I don't know. We started sitting here, and I was like, guys, I got to get my brain right, because I've been busy all day. And not only that, but I think you guys also have plenty of things coming up, even in the near future. I know in a couple weeks you're going to be super busy too. But how have you guys been doing?
Pretty good. Got a lot of stuff going on in the works. Always.
And just kind of,
I think it's
keeping up, right?
Mhm.
it's like every time you wrap one project, you're already starting the next, or you're already a part of the planning of the next phase of what's coming. And
Mhm.
it's never linear. It's never okay, we did this one thing, let's take a break, now let's do the next. It's always
Mhm.
overlapping projects. So you run a
Mhm.
podcast and multiple projects too, so I know you're no stranger to the leapfrogging.
I promise I forget all about it. What? When I'm working on other things, I'm just wait a minute, it's Thursday. We definitely have to do the show and kind of keep up with things. But it's funny, because the DJs that are in here, they may not automatically think of that timeline of how things kind of operate. I think a lot of people, especially you guys, have also known, as far as the convention circuit is concerned, that it tends to kind of happen 6 months in advance. What you want to do, you want to apply, you want to get more in contact with them, and there's months of a process, as opposed to kind of the 1 month process of getting booked in VR to be a DJ in VR. And that's the mind-numbing thing of it, and kind of how we opened up the show today, being we're all sitting in, getting out of cabin fever, but we technically should be starting to think about spooky month and Halloween by now, let alone if summertime is going to happen,
Right.
summertime is going to happen. But again, even with the convention circuit for you guys, like, how do you guys start planning, especially for the next several months that you've got different things that you got going on? And I think where we'd want to start with this is, what do you guys promote while you're at those conventions?
Well, I think you could talk more about the planning, and I'm a little bit more on the promotion side. So do you want to start
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where we reach out to a convention occasionally, depending on where it is, what they are already kind of doing, whether it's like whether they're doing something that's kind of similar to what we were already doing, or whether they're showing an interest in it, whether they have like VTubers already present. So it's like, okay, we're not having to reinvent the wheel, going into hit this because walking into a convention being like, "Hey, we have VTubers," and the first thing that they are like, "Well, what's a VTuber and why would we have them here? Like, would this be, a talent person or would this be like, are you selling anything?" That's already like a hurdle trying to even get us in the door at a convention a lot of the time. And then it's a thing of like, "Oh, well, we also do these other things with like, hey, if you have any after parties and you want dancers with visuals and, technology that integrates like real dancers, like we can also provide that as a thing." Just some of the things that we offer and see if they're always interested in that. And it's one of those things where it's a kind of a rolling conversation to gauge their level of interest, where they may not be interested in VTubers, but they might be interested in like having the dancers in their after parties, or they might be interested in like a portal wall. But to help with the portal wall, we also have like something else to help like bolster why we'd be there, because like specializing in one thing is cool, but offering another thing to like augment the experience further is even better in our experience.
Yeah, and to pick up on that, like there's this, I'm not going to call it a stigma because it's not quite that bad, but there's this knowledge gap between like when we say we have talent or we say we have dancers and like what we see like a voice actor being afforded. So
Mhm.
like I have a background in representing talent for conventions, which is why this is kind of an easy thing for us to attempt with our dance company and our nonprofit. But I'm used to having a lot more understanding from show promoters when you're walking up with like a human that they can recognize that they've seen,
Mhm.
on a show or a movie or something like that. And then when you're trying to represent this like caricature or entity that is a VTuber, there's less stickiness with those conversations. Like there's a like they're like, "Oh, well, why would people come to my show if I booked, you know, someone that they've never heard of before maybe, or if
If
we're."
they can't, like,
Yeah.
physically be in the room
Right.
is the
Yeah,
question, that we have to, like, deal with.
and so things that we've tried to do when we work with promoters is, not lessen the ask from our side just because we're virtual.
Mhm.
So we let them know, "Hey, our staff may be smaller on site, but the 3 people that you see are representing a team of 30 that are all attending your show virtually." And that's
Mhm.
not to include, like, any efforts that we have, like, helping them have people attend their show with, like, a digital twin or anything. That's just, like, our team and our talent. So it's like letting them know they could promote those names, letting them know that they could put them on their website, that they could announce them as a guest. And, we continue to push and say, could you get us care packages? Like if there's a green room with like little baggies for the people who are all guests, we'll ask for, half a dozen of those so that we can mail them to the people that virtually showed up because we're trying to represent that level of parity kind of when we're
Mhm.
at shows. So that's to answer your question about what do we promote at shows, that's the like behind the curtain side of what we're promoting is just like advocating for us as a legitimate vertical in the convention space.
And that's
Um,
really good to hear too, because
Hmm.
I know a lot of our conversations are going to be a little two-sided, and I know this is something we were discussing before the show as well, is because there are a lot of people that do watch the show, and whether it's live here on Twitch or up on YouTube, and a lot of
Hmm.
them have always asked the basic questions of just like, how do I get started DJing in virtual reality?
mm,
You
Hmm.
know, I haven't gone in the algorithm of how to become a VTuber anymore. Like, you know, I feel like
Yeah.
we've already given that maybe 3 years of time where people have tried
Hmm.
to understand what it's like to become a VTuber, and then there's also all this news that had happened to kind of solidify whether or not you wanted to, or validate whether or not you wanted to become a VTuber or not. And
Yeah.
one of the cool things about these convention circuits, and it's tough too, because if you were to really think about it, that's literally 3 days that you have to kind
Hmm.
of like tell everyone what's good, what the future is going to
mm,
hold, and what are some
Hmm.
other applications that you can do. You only have those 3 days in that small market. So when it is time to
Hmm.
move on to the next market, you have to be like really, really sure that people are, I don't know, it's like anime cars, right? You see the anime cars at
Yeah.
the
yeah,
conventions,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you either have to really like cars, or you really like anime, or you have a
Hmm.
bajillion dollars that you're like, I want that one, and that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, I'm just like, oh, that's the Hatsune Miku car, you know. Oh, that's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tato car. That's
Yeah.
whatever. That's the Sailor Moon car. And I'm like, I don't think too much about the sports part of it, or
Hmm.
even just like showcasing it or something like that. So,
Yeah.
like with Turtles, we were talking about how like you have the script down, and you know exactly
Yeah.
what you need to say for all of the people that are doing that. But
Hmm.
let's kind of break that down. Let's just say somebody is walking up to the booth that has never heard of virtual reality before. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's a weird concept, right? Because that's like
No,
the
Yeah.
it's
thing.
it's
No,
not
no, it happens all the
actually.
time.
Yeah.
We at our last convention, I actually had somebody walk up and they looked really embarrassed and they were like, "So I have a question and this is going to be really dumb, but what is a VTuber?" And I had to break it down because we were in VTuber Village. We were like the first booth and I happened to be there and I was like one of the most approachable people that he could see that wasn't already like busy with talking somebody to somebody else. And I was like, "So this is a virtual talent. So this is a real person. They like are sitting somewhere doing something like, but they are here in like all the ways that matter. They can see you, they can hear you, they are interacting with you one on one live. They are able to see everything that's going on here at this convention. They're able to see all the cosplays that you're able to see, but they are here at our booth and they thought that that was cool and it was approachable and they were like, "Well, what do they do?" I was like, "Well, they sometimes they play games. Sometimes they like to sing. Like there's musicians. There's like all sorts of things that you can do, but they stream it and they do it virtually." And I try and make it as approachable as possible because like once you start trying to like explain it in a way that's, technologically heavy, which like for some people they enjoy that. That is like the way that their brain works, like what's how SkyLight's brain works.
Oh, yeah.
But other people, that's not how their brain works, and they want to be talked to in a way that it's not talking down to them. And there's nothing wrong with like not understanding a concept and asking questions. And like that is what our booth is like, hey, if you're trying to figure out what's going on behind me, just ask. Like I am
Yeah.
so happy to explain like that dancer, none of this is AI. That person is actually spinning on their head in VR. Like it's wild. I don't know how they're doing it. Please don't ask me, but they are.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like it's so fun to be able to do this and explain it to people and show people how far VR can go right now, much less how far it can go in the next, 2 5 years
Oh,
So
there's a
plus.
light bulb moment for sure. Then you see it go off in people where they're like, "Oh my God, wait. So if that's this, then like, what's the next?" And you see their mind just start going because they get inspired by what they see. And it's something where like you're really good at kind of being in front of the table, and I tend to float behind the table most of the
Mhm.
time so that like if someone has a technical question, Turtles will let me know and I'll come over and talk to that person. But that's not like the first
The
thing that
norm.
we try and greet people with, because we're trying to be advocates for this space, but we also view ourselves as like co-cast members with whoever's appearing on our Portal Meet system. So like it's really important, and I'm not gonna like it's just kind of a known thing that, you know, we get really nerdy about this stuff really fast, and that's not always the best first impression
Yeah, I
for
mean,
like
I know we're
yeah.
gonna kind of dive in a lot about the things that you
Yeah.
personally have been kind of doing. I know when you were
Mhm.
taking a quick break before the show, we were talking about you a little bit about some of the stuff that
Okay.
you're passionate about, and I know it's going to be super important to talk about,
Yeah.
especially over the whole idea about PepperCast and not to completely, you know, pat yourselves on the back a little bit, but I did take a little bit of time to take a look at your historical archive
Mhm.
on the website. I mean, there's just some
Yeah.
great
Oh, cool,
accolades
yeah.
on there, and there's there are a lot of little fun nuggets in there that is just
Yeah,
like holy
yeah.
moly, you would have never thought that we would get to this far
We need to
along.
update it too. There's a couple
We
of
are
events.
behind,
Yeah,
I
it just
am,
sits
yeah.
Yeah.
there 2023, so I'm just like, I kind of want to
I
know
know.
what else is
Mhm.
kind of going on. And I do want to
We
kind of come back to the idea of being able to again integrate IRL gifts, like you were saying, to the
Mhm.
dancers and people like that, because like some of the many things that are going to perturb me during this show is the fact that everyone believes that we do not exist in here, that we are not real
Yeah.
people,
Mhm.
that we're all anime,
But
and again I want to
you are present in all the ways that matter, is
sure
the thing.
sure
You are there.
and like
Like, whether your body is physically there or not, you're there in all the ways that matter at a
but like
convention whenever you're at the booth.
here's the follow-up to what you were saying though, because I know that your spiel says that, and like
Mhm.
so here's the funny part, right? So like as we were
Mhm.
talking, and I think a lot of people have already recognized already, I'm going to be performing at MomoCon this year, and one of the miraculous things is I've asked my parents, my community asked me and said, oh, this is the first time
Yeah.
that your parents are actually going to see you perform live, and I'm like, is it? And I'm
Mhm.
like, so I asked them, I'm like, is it? And they're like, I think so. And I'm like,
Mm.
what the heck, guys? Like, I've been doing this for such a long time, and now this is happening. But they were only able to experience what a like an anime pop culture convention could be in our local town when we were living in
Mm.
Connecticut, and that's
Mm.
not
Mhm.
very big at all. Like you would probably
Yeah.
get maybe 30,000, maybe 25,000, give or take, for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
weekend.
That's still a decent show though.
It's
Yeah.
still a pretty decent show, but
Yeah.
like getting back to what Turtles was saying about like how, let's just say someone approached your booth and you give them the spiel saying that these people are real and that sort of stuff. I'm picturing my
Mhm.
parents and being like,
Yeah.
what do they think of this convention? What are they
Yeah.
looking for? Who are they looking to connect with? Or like, you know, let's just say you're looking for Batman, right? And then you see a guy that's Batman and you go, "Oh my gosh, I need to
Yeah.
approach
I
Batman
saw
and I
Batman.
need to."
Mhm.
So thinking about the person who has never done virtual reality, I feel
Yeah.
like you've kind of had your own moments of saying in your head, what are the three things that this guy or girl
Mhm.
want to do to interact
Mhm.
with a VTuber or someone in virtual space?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So like we like to make up like little games, like especially with the VTubers, it's making it to where they realize that that person's real. So,
Mm.
especially with one of the main VTuber that we've been working with for the past few years, Ari the Neko. Her thing, she really likes to get head pats from the people that are that are attending the convention. So I work as her head pat dealer for the whole convention, and I encourage people to give her head pats.
Yep.
Like, they walk up right up, and they pat her head where she is, and she reacts to it in real time, as if she's actually physically there getting a head pat from an attendee. Or she plays, rock, paper, scissors. There's little girls and boys that'll walk up and start dancing with her, and she'll dance with them as well. Like, it's like the little interactions that you get and the little games that you can get, like, organically. Like, I'm suggesting a game, but they may or may not play that exact game with her, and it's like, okay, that's the spark that you get of like, "Oh, wait, I can do this. But what if I was to be in VR and I could do that with my friends that aren't maybe here?" And like we have like whenever we were talking to Meow Wolf recently, about some of our options of like the things that we can do in VR and XR and stuff. It was just how is this more accessible to people? And it's like, hey, maybe this person can't be present at this event in this physical space, but they can attend still with their friends. Like, you know, we have people as far as Europe or, in Australia and things like that, and they can still attend with their friends and see people and engage with them, and they don't have to worry about being there and like the lift that gets them there physically. And I think that that's the thing that we need to reiterate is like VR can be a bridge connecting these people across these distances or people that you would never normally meet, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you were saying about, what are the three things that we think of? And I know Turtle's list of three is very different than mine, but I try and step up, like there's degrees of separation from the work you do and how you think about the work you do, and I try and step like 3 steps above when I'm thinking about stuff like that, because it's not, what's the next cool tech thing? I don't want to impress this person with like how smart I am or how cool this is. I want to give them something that they have as like a memory or an experience, because they say that experiences last a lifetime. Cool moments and stuff like that are just like a firework. So like, what can we say or show this person that lets them know it's not AI? That's like step number one with like everyone,
Right,
because
right.
everyone's like, oh wow, look at this AI booth, and we're all like, it's even a joke because sometimes the people on screen will be like, did you just call me AI? Like, what? Like, it's so rude. And so like that's like the first hurdle to get over. And it's usually done pretty quick because we have these games and we have these real time things where it's like, no, that we'll just say like, no, that person is real. And then there's another component where we've workshopped and labbed because, and we tell this to all of our talent, that like what we do is one part, like talent appearance, like another part performance. And in that performance, it's like, circus. There's a little bit of clown to what you're doing here. There's improv. There's like elements, and I mean circus not in the Barnum and Bailey sense. I mean in like the true, like political theater sense of like having commentary about what it is that's happening between you and another person, and using your physical body language now that we have full body tracking.
Sure.
So like we teach that, and that's a part of the rehearsals and workshops that we do. Especially for, again, like immersive spaces like Meow Wolf, people are there to be transported to another reality. Like,
Mhm.
how can we transport them further
Mhm.
is kind of like a really good question that we tackle with all the time. Is, okay, you just walked through this refrigerator and now you're in a Winnebago that has black slime growing off the wall, and you open this little window and now you're in a garden and there's like a floating VTuber on the fence, like ready to give you a riddle in exchange for a piece of candy or something. Like that's the stuff that we lab and we workshop, is like, how can we add a game or another layer or like transport people further than, where even their first impression of us or their first assumption of us lives.
And even thinking a lot outside of the box with that too is that I think we've come so far that that anything could be really possible on the realm of belief and fantasy and understanding, especially with the virtual reality thing. And just like you were saying, for those people that haven't been to Meow Wolf and Omega Mart in Las Vegas,
Mhm.
that it does kind of transport you from this grocery store environment to literal rooms that are just beyond belief, unless you have a fever dream, and then you also
Mhm.
are there and you remember the fever dream. That's the thing, is that after a fever dream is
Yeah,
over,
right.
you're just
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
it's kind of over. But that's the interesting thing about all of this, is that personally, without jumping the gun, when people are looking into
Mhm.
this technology, they're already in the back of their mind, they're saying how much, or how much does it
Mhm.
cost to get
Right.
involved, and will it be sustainable enough for me to purchase to get into it that will sustain me for
Yeah.
a much longer time. And the real reality of it, and the people that are actually here in chat, welcome on in, is just that we're here. You know, we are doing this,
Yeah.
and we are the living proof of this existence. And one of the great things, Sky, that we're going to be talking about with you momentarily is just there are passionate people like you that are interested in the tech and want to further it, and that's what makes these conversations currently very tough, because within the market, from what we've been reading, and of course social media is up and down, left and right all the time, is just we hear things about the futures of what our future looks like, and sometimes it doesn't look good, but then we have people like PepperCast to come out and say, y'all are wrong. We're going to continue kicking butt, and we're going to continue doing the things that we enjoy and showcase, because guess what? We've been doing it for such a long time that it is quite sustainable, that quitting is never really much of an option now. It's just a matter of continuous growth and exercising our fun and engaging with that. So kind of bouncing back from what we were asking Turtles as far as the top 3, I want your take on some of the nerdy talk, the nerdy tech talk that people have given you at conventions that people want to hear about.
Cool. I'm gonna segue then, so I'll say a bit and then get into answering your question, because it's really important that, like, with all of this, I think that one thing that shoots itself in the foot is that a job well done technically is undetectable in any show of any kind, like concerts, theater, like the most immersive thing. Like, if you can detect the technology, that's usually because something is breaking or glitching or not working. So that's like it's the double-edged sword of being a good technician, is that your work will not showcase itself, and it shouldn't if you did a good job. So by backing the horse of technology, if that's the only horse you're backing, and you're not backing a horse also of like storytelling or like transporting or creating memories, like content is king is the phrase, right? The reason why things move the way that they do, and I won't really dig into it too much, but there's certain 18 plus industries that like drive technology in ways that are like, if you look at it on paper, you're just like, oh my gosh, like this would never have happened. But like the fact is that what people want is to connect and feel like they're connecting with another person at the end of the day. Like, that's really at the heart of all of this. And, you know, technology has been a barrier for that for so long. So our goal in what we do is we try and remove as much visible technology as possible. We put up little scenic facades, we put up tablecloths and pretty, you know, banners and things. We hide the cameras so that when everyone's like, where's the that's a question we get all the time. Where's the camera? Where do I look? And we're like, don't worry about it. There's no cameras. Or we'll say like, hey, there's too many cameras. Like, don't worry about it. And they'll be like, oh, okay. Like, the goal is to get them to not think of the tech and enjoy meeting the person.
I tend to tell them it's a magic trick, and that if I tell them the secret, then it's no longer a magic trick.
Yeah, right.
I mean, at some point in time, they're going to be thinking about it too. I mean, we'll get it. I do want to get into the idea of like a couple Twitch cons ago, we had a lot of VTubers with the robot and the tablet on the robot roaming around. And like, you're sitting there going, all right, well, that's a robot, you know, like that's a Roomba running around. But at the same time too, like, again, you guys are playing with fantasy, and you guys are playing into the idea that this is a real reality. And you know, again, I could feel the aggravation for both of you on the looks on their faces, just being like, get out, you guys are killing me. Like, no, there's a robot, that's AI, and it's but I'm sure you have a little chuckle about it too.
It's actually really cool though, whenever we have the questions about the cameras, and I'm like, well, there's like a, you know, and even whenever I explain it to volunteers who for better, they are well intentioned, but sometimes they'll put out where the cameras are whenever people ask, and I'm like, hey, so they approach the booth with a suspension of disbelief. Like, they approach the booth because they believe that there's a person there. There is a person there, but they believe that there is also a person there, even though they are physically not there. And so by pointing out the camera, you then remove the ability to suspend the belief that the person is or isn't there. So, like, you remove the magic that they could potentially believe in. Like, just let them believe. Let them believe in whatever it is that they want to believe.
Yeah.
Unless they, like, really, really wanna know, and then you can absolutely point it out.
And
But,
hopefully
like
somebody
There's a
could come on
progression.
the other side of the screen. That's what they're hoping for. Is that,
Well,
Yeah,
people
Mr.
go
Beast,
go and
they're
look.
coming out and they're doing the.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Like,
have
people
John
try and
Cena
look.
behind
We'll
the
see 'em,
screen.
like, be like, "What?" And they'll look around and everything, but, there's even a moment and then I'll answer your actual question here in a
Sure.
second, but there's a moment where, like, we were labbing again, Aries a great example because we've
Mhm,
spent a lot of hours together at shows kind of refining the exchange and, every single touch point with a new person that walks up is a new chance to lab or play or experiment and grow.
mhm.
And so we have hundreds of those now, exchanges that we've all and we, like, powwow about it afterwards and we like dissect it. And a big thing that we found is that like explaining nothing when
Mhm.
someone first walks up is like the best thing we can do. And
Yeah.
like let them be confused. Don't explain anything, don't answer anything, and let them guide the journey. Let them be the director of this little happenstance that they're about to be a part of. And Ari is so expressive as well. And, she was streaming as a mute for so long that her physical performance is very engrossing. And so there's a lot of storytelling happening when you first walk up to her that, you know, if Turtles or I were to walk up and be like, "Hey, this is Ari, welcome," it's like we're getting in the way of that in a way. So
Mm.
we just hang back
Mhm,
more and more now. And then if there's a person who's on the screen who maybe isn't quite used to this environment that we've
mhm.
provided them of this real time, like at the show experience, because they have a full wraparound view of the show. Like if they look left, they're seen looking left and they're looking left. If
They
they
can
look
see
right, they're looking right. Yeah.
everything that is happening in real
Yeah.
time.
So
Every single thing.
some people get
It's
caught up
a
in
lot.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're like, they benefit more from having a little monitor on the side with their Twitch information that like someone can read to know a bit about them before they walk up. They're not quite as used to the format of like having people that they need to draw to them
Mhm.
kind of a thing. And like, because
Yeah.
there's even games because they can see the booth across from us, they can see down the hall. They like the way we have our panoramic stitched camera set up. There's no like for the person in VR, it's like there's no one camera. It's just an environment for them too.
Mhm.
So they can be like, "Hey, I love your shirt," and be talking about someone who's like 3 people deep in the walking by crowd, and then people in the like, we have it happen all the time where they're like, "Wait, what, me? Like, can they see me?"
Mhm.
And we're like,
That's what I
the
really loved about the idea of MagFest too, is that from what I've been hearing from some of the DJs, even when we did meet up a couple of years ago, is
Mhm.
it's just a lot of people think of MagFest as the East Coast official VRChat meetup. So you
Yeah.
have a lot of VR chatters coming in, and then at the same time, if they
Mhm.
can't go to the convention, that there's the world
They I mean,
that's
they
put
can still
together.
go.
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
still be there and still
Yeah.
connect. But also, one of the things that we will, we'll continue to talk about is just that interactability between people that are legit walking past. And of course, you got a bunch of
Mhm.
VR
Mhm.
chat people just hanging out, and they're already that is the mirror. They're
Yeah.
all hanging out in
Yeah.
front of
Yeah.
the mirror. But you do have,
Yeah.
I have seen like a dad and his kid come in and
Oh, yeah.
interact with Sonic the Hedgehog or a funny
Mhm.
looking character over here. And it must really, well, I'm sure you guys are more of a professional than we are, but it kills us when we have to step back and go, just let him do it.
Yep.
Hopefully the VR
Yep.
chat guy will know what to do too. But at the same time,
Yep.
you're right. It does create a
Yeah.
bond when someone in VR is like looking way beyond and just being like, I see you
Mhm.
walking past there, nice cosplay, and hopefully they'll be able to
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
breaking down the distance between parasocial separation. Like if you wanna get heady about it for a second, like there's a parasocial relationship you form with a VTuber or someone who's digital that is now ingrained in our society because we're so used to talking to people on screens.
Mhm.
Like everyone knows what a Zoom meeting is now. Everyone knows what Google Meet is now. Like there's no difference. Like or the difference rather is very different now than it used to be. Whereas like
Mhm.
everyone's like, oh, a Google Meet, a virtual meeting, like, like I'm gonna skip that, you know, like it was
It's
that
not as
way.
fun as talking to someone in here while you're doing it either.
Right. Well, that's
Exactly,
definitely,
yeah.
and it's all about immersion. But like you, we're like we're parasocial experience dealers in a way.
Mhm,
Like, and I mean that broadly, like VTubers do it, like we do it. Everyone who's
mhm,
doing this is like engaging with what does it mean to be parasocial now? And
mhm,
like how different is that actually from our lived reality? And the gap is shrinking while maybe the understanding of what it takes to form those bonds or facilitate those bonds, and maybe this is a good segue into the tech, is like that's where the gap is now, because you see it when people log on to Twitch even, and they have the ability to just chat at someone. Like they're able to have a parasocial connection with any streamer they choose, like on demand even. So, and the good Twitch streamers know how to recognize that and have an exchange and make the chat feel like they're being heard or a part of that world or doing what they're doing.
Not to throw a little bit of a curveball in this, and we'll open up this for conversation too, and we'll get back to you because we want to know about your tech too.
Yeah, right.
But was it Zach Busey, the guy who kind of facilitates all of the social media whatever's about platforming and stuff like that between Kick and Twitch and YouTube and stuff like
Mm,
that, came out some really
mhm,
wacky stats today about the fact that viewership and users on TikTok in Q1 of
mhm.
this year dropped by 12%. Which
Yep,
was nuts to hear about because everyone's always about TikTok, always about something like
yeah.
that. Twitch
yeah.
viewership actually went up, I believe, either 7 or 8%.
Nice.
I mean, obviously, YouTube is kind of
Yeah.
still doing a
Yeah.
really good job, but
Yeah.
that still surprises me because we never talk too much about it. And
Mhm,
besides the fact that people are making content and maybe they are looking for other ways virtually to connect, and being
mhm.
able to connect like this too, especially with conventions too, hopefully will triangulate, you know, a nice little balance between everybody. But I just found
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really, really, um, not really problematic, but at the same time, just learning about the fact that even TikTok isn't doing very well, even though we've
Yeah.
always known that TikTok to be kind of, you know, a leader in things.
I
Well, like
mean, I
post
heard
buying.
there
Yeah.
was a recent, like, boycott of TikTok for various reasons, so I think that that probably has something to do with why viewership is down on TikTok,
I blame the
so
ads. I blame all the ads and
Oh my
all
god,
the
they're getting awful.
product placement of things that I
Oh,
don't even want
probably.
to see. So I mean,
yeah.
Twitch does that. They do it in a way that's kind of nice. It's nurturing, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
at the
like,
same
it's
time,
every so often, yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, like
It's not too
we
intrusive.
know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same, we can always go
Yeah.
to the bathroom and then come back, and then everything will be
Mhm.
fine. But let's get
Yeah.
into your tech question, the tech answer
Yeah.
before, because again, it's fascinating because the people that are in virtual reality, we talk about tech all the time. We
Yeah.
always use everything like through VCat. You know, those two
Mhm.
weeks, we
Yeah.
love talking with new people. We love talking to the Japanese community and how they're
Yeah.
using
Mhm.
tech and all that sort of stuff. SkyLight, on the other hand, you know, I feel like we're going to be tech bros at some point in time because we got to a point, and I kid you not to break the fourth wall here on the live show VRCDJ Live, where everybody is in chat and in actually chatting. We got a moment where like I was like, show me some of the stuff that you do, and I swear you kind of like dropped off all of the things within like a day, and then you waited a day as if like we were dating, and then you gave me another one. You're like, look at this picture, look at this video, look at these cool things, and I'm like, yes, I want to see all this, but like you're just like, oh, I hope he doesn't think I'm a nerd, you know,
Like,
like you just yeah.
Yeah.
breadcrumbing all of these
Yeah,
little
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah. So,
god.
but that's your passion, and you love doing that, and there's people out there that love seeing it. So that's why I asked the tech question because again, for
Yeah.
someone that has never been to a convention and they're looking for Batman or even Super Mario because the
Mhm.
new movie came out, but like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure of it. There's got to be a whole bunch of people that came up and be like, "Well, I can build this in my basement." You know,
Mhm.
Right.
I've done this several years before you.
Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Okay, so that's
Mhm.
why we have there's a lot to unpack there. So I'll start with the timeline on our website was like so necessary to help just like call this phenomena that happened when everyone was flooding into VR and we spent so much time here. Like you couldn't sneeze without someone saying world's first blank.
Mm.
Like it was happening everywhere, and it still keeps happening. Like when someone comes up with a thing, they want to say it's the world's first. And like I just happen to be aware of like in academic circles where a lot of this stuff has been happening already. And there was like a VR dance company in the 80s, for instance. Like this is not as novel as I think, and it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like people think that they're in a certain depth of what this is when they're experiencing it for the first time before they understand the broader scope of what it actually is that they're experiencing. So, and that curve goes like this, like as far as like, oh, I feel like I'm so smart. Oh my God, I'm so dumb. And like, okay, now I'm actually learning what this is. And so like to just have a really like constructive way of responding to that perception, because we know it not to be true just from our own lived experience, like that there's so much more that has been happening in this space to get us to this point. Like mocap didn't just fall off a tree one day. Like these algorithms have been getting refined, and IK has been, in robotic science and Boston Dynamics for decades. So like that's where all that came from. And that's something that timeline on our website breaks down. Is we have an open invitation that if anyone wants to provide us, and we provide a definition of what we consider a portal, like truly is it has to be two ways. A portal isn't a one-way thing. It has to be near real time, so that like if I wave to you, you could wave back. So like there's a latency consideration there. And so we hopefully do a really good job of like defining what we think a portal event is, so that we also don't end up with a list of like 5,000 things. So we kind of narrow it down and we let people know that's our niche. And the timeline helps a lot of people be like really second guessing themselves when they're saying things like, well, I did the first this, or I saw the first that. And it's like, oh, cool. If you can provide us with a picture of it or a link or just something to show us that it happened with a description of like why it's a portal event. And like that was where, we learned that Silent, if you're familiar with the VJ Silent, like they had a friend show up in a van in their driveway and they popped up VRChat and they figured out a way to get a camera back into it. And I think that's actually the first portal from what we've gathered. But I'm not going to say it's the world's first portal. I'm just going to say that's the first one that we've found so far from like us reaching out to the community through our website. And, maybe someone else will be like, oh, here's a picture from this thing I did, or, maybe. But it's like it helps ground people a little bit more in reality that are trying to maybe be a little snarky or play a little one-up game with you when you're trying to tell them about, because a lot of people walk up to technology and I think their first impression is that they want to seem as cool as the technology that they're looking at. So there's a little bravado sometimes that comes with that, or a little like, adjusts glasses. Well, like what's going on here?
Dude, I'd hate to say it, but the DJs go through the same thing too. Like, we're still trying to crack the idea that if you're DJing and you go up to the DJ and say, well, I'm a DJ too, it's like, what, are we going to start fighting now? Like, like, oh, you think you're better than me now that I'm doing a gig and you're bugging me.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, okay, well, one of us clearly is the booked talent right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
One of us is getting a paycheck and one is paying for the other's paycheck.
Sure. Like, you came up to my booth, yeah.
Right, yeah. So, like, I try to hold grace for like everyone that walks up to our booth, because again, I consider what we do reflective of the whole industry. So like if I am a jerk, that's going to reflect poorly not just on me, but also all of our talent and the industry as a whole. So it's like, that's why at a convention I make sure that I shower, I wear deodorant, like, and I'm not
must-haves.
Yeah, seriously, like I consider myself almost like an ambassador for the space, not because of an ego or anything related to that, but more like I'm the first impression, and first impressions are lasting impressions for a lot of people. So it's almost my responsibility to be polite and well mannered and like, you know, approachable. And that's, I think, why you do such a great job at being the first person that people approach. Because sometimes I get like caught in the sauce of like, oh my God, you know, this protocol didn't work, or this stream went down, or we're experiencing an internet blip, or, you know, and then I become rather unapproachable while I'm
Turtles becomes
troubleshooting.
the jingle keys, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yep, basically, yeah. I'm really good at
Um,
stalling.
oh, so good. I'd be like, oh, they're taking a break. You know, they'll be right back.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the tech is something that like people want to talk about for sure. And I just make sure that there's one college try on our behalf, that we're, you know, making sure that we're not interrupting something else for them before diving into the tech. Because once you start talking about the tech, it's, you know, we've had people
Oh
hang out
god.
at the booth for like hours, just
Mhm.
like asking question after question after question,
Mhm.
which, you know, I will do, as evidenced by our 2 hour long podcast session that we're on right now. Like, I'll talk tech all day. So,
Mhm. He will.
but there is something that helps me talk about tech is having the tech next to me, because we do so many different activations. We have a lot of different projects that we're developing, and like, I wouldn't call them products because we're not charging people for them, but like it's more of services that we charge for
Mhm.
as a nonprofit. But the activations that we share or show people that we're capable of range from the LED wall integrations that we do to do telepresent dancers at the after parties, all the way
Mhm.
to like a little cube that looks like there's a little virtual person on the table that you just sat down at and, you know, are eating your lunch and they're having an exchange with you, all the way to
Mhm.
our meet and greet, the portal meet, uh, portal mark system that we have, where we are trying our best to give everything to someone that you would get waiting in line for a signature from your favorite voice actor or
Mhm.
celebrity. Is you get a photo op, they will sign something for you. We have a little signature machine that if you sign on a surface that we have in VR, it'll do a little RoboPen and it'll draw whatever that person drew as a real-time thing. So you can actually walk away with like a memory and a signature and a picture of like this person that you met. The same
Mhm.
way that you see people doing photo booths all the time with like, you know, the Star Wars cast, or, you know, whoever is at the last convention that they chose to go to and pay money. And by offering this as a free service right now, I feel like we're being really good ambassadors for like what's capable, so that when the next wave of this comes, that, you know, there's an ability to represent the talent with a little bit more punch, so
Mhm.
that, you know, the VTubers have a little bit more of a platform to stand on because they've seen something like what we did. And like, we're not an agency, we're never going to be an agency, we're always going to be a solutions company, like,
Mhm.
and a nonprofit. Like, that's what we are at our heart, and that's not changing. So like, we're not here to try and capitalize on this, which I think helps
Mhm.
us forward the cause a little further, because we don't have to worry about monetization in order to survive, in the same way that a lot of people that, you know, are like figuring out how to try and do in order to engage with this thing they love right now. So
Mhm.
it's just a difference, and it's a different way. Like, we chose nonprofit very early on because we knew that would give us a lot of room to be uh, doing R&D efforts and playing with the technology and making mistakes and like breaking stuff. And, you know, maybe it's not always going to work the first time, but we eventually get there with everything that we work on because our devs are amazing. Um,
Mhm.
and our talent is like I can't start talking about it because I'm just going to gush about them all day. But like, the technology is easier to talk about when I have like a use case that and this is something that I spend a lot of time with our potential clients and potential places we go, is like, what is it that you are trying to do with your show? Let us come up with a solution
Mhm.
to bring that. Like, there's a known show right now where like someone promised them the moon with virtual talent on their main stages at panels and all this other stuff, and then that group just disappeared overnight. Like they
Mhm.
didn't they got paid all the money and then they just ghosted with it and they never delivered on it.
Mhm.
So unfortunately we have like bad faith actors, I'll say, doing stunts like that, and then we have to come in and that sets back all of our negotiations with someone to
Mhm.
be like, we are going to source talent for you. We are going to make all of your tech needs easy and turnkey. We're not going to be a draw on your team. In fact, we're
Mhm.
probably going to help them fix some of their AV problems while we're there, like, because we're experts at this. But like that is where a lot of these tech conversations, can benefit from a little steering maybe. So I don't know if there's something that you've seen in particular that you want me to describe or dig into, but like that would help a little bit if I'm being honest.
I mean, the original question was just like if anybody came up to the table and started nerding out with you with some of the tech. Like, for example, I've been talking with one of my moderators who is starting
Mhm.
to kind of get into the whole glove technology of the
Right.
VR
Oh,
chat world.
yeah.
And one of the things that I would love to start getting more passionate about, especially within VRCDJ Live, is trying to find
Mm,
better
Mhm.
integration with people that create hardware that could
yeah.
potentially
Mhm.
aid in DJing easier while also providing the
Yeah.
haptics of the fingers,
Yep.
but also free range that you don't have to. I know that there's one currently that continues to showcase at TwitchCon where they have
Mm,
something like
Mhm.
the Knuckles controller, but the pad on the front swings onto the top of the Knuckles, opening up
Oh.
your hands and your
with
pad.
VR Heratora. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that the concept works and that's great. And for me, I'm thinking, well, once I do that too many times, the whole thing is just gonna fling off my hand. But at the same time,
Yeah.
like it might hurt my knuckles depending on how quickly I do
Mhm.
that, or the
Yeah.
amount of weight that's pushing down on my hands. Let's just say I'm scratching or something, that also has a little
Yeah.
bit of an effect on it too. So
Mhm.
finding all of those, and you have a lot of people that love to nerd into that technology and keeping
Hmm.
those conversations alive, that inspires you and everyone else to continue
Mhm.
furthering the process of how this is all kind of carrying on. Which we'll continue to dive into as well. I want to feed
Yeah.
into what you were saying about representation and how you wanted to represent yourself in PepperCast as well. That whatever we're doing, we're kind of the face of our community and the way that
Yeah.
we're handling things. And we can continue having this conversation until we are dried bones in the desert and just going off into dust, because
Yeah.
there's far too many examples in here where people are continuously trying to fight over the fact that either VR chat is meant for something else, but we also don't
Mhm.
put any of our attention on all of the stuff that is worthwhile within our simulation as well. And for
Mhm.
me, as someone who has a lot of experience within the entertainment industry, whether
Hmm.
it be through radio or actually DJing or even the festival circuit or convention circuit, finding the DJs that are in here, it's a shock to me to see that they want to do it as a hobby, but there is
Hmm.
no sense of I want to continue this as a career or a profession. And
Hmm.
I don't want to say it shows, but at the same time, like there are far too many examples where they can show themselves in a more positive and professional light. They have the opportunity to do so, but
Mhm.
when they fail to do that, it's not just a reflection of them, but it's a reflection of the community as a whole, within what we
Mhm.
do in here. And being able to represent that in here is super important, because that's what
Yeah.
we're all trying to do, is like the people that want to continue to showcase how amazing this space is. It's
Mhm.
difficult because hot air rises, as we all know.
Yeah.
And providing the answers to that is so important. So I want to dive into something that could be a little bit more heartfelt for the both of you. I know with Turtles, we
Mhm.
were explaining how you said that you're not in virtual reality as often as you want to be, but with Sky wanting to
Mhm.
do more of the tech, I would assume that he wants to be in here for a longer time as well. Since you guys have been
Mhm.
doing Peppercast for such a long time now, tell us about your feelings about the virtual reality space and what it means to you, what it means for your nonprofit, and what brews the coffee, what keeps you up, to continue on with your process from the many years of what you've learned so far in here compared to the future of what could be.
Yeah. Um, I think that I mean, the whole reason that I even started working on PepperCast is I got connected with SkyLight, and I was just like, well, let's see what I can do here. And I enjoy seeing the connections that are made, whether it's like you meet somebody at a convention and you're just like, wait, what is this like connection that you have to this thing or to this like person or something? Like you never know who you're going to run across and what they're interested in, and being able to find those connections either in person or in VR is always really valuable. And the team that we work with is so good. The developers that we work with are so talented. The dancers that we work with are amazing. Our dance managers, I don't think we could do this without them. And like the team that we work with is made up of such great people that I value them so highly, and we could not do this without them. And I just appreciate them a lot. And that's what makes all of this worth it for me. And that's what makes it like something that I want to continue working on. Whether I'm in VR personally or not, I want to continue working with PepperCast and want to continue finding new things for PepperCast to do and new ways for it to grow and new conventions and new connections and like seeing where we can go and what we can do, because I want to continue giving those opportunities to the people that we work with and seeing what Sky like comes up with next, and seeing the devs be devastated by the fact that they have to somehow figure out a way to make that happen, which is so funny every time, and I feel for them, but, like, everybody is so talented and intelligent and good at what they do, and I feel like this is what they deserve, and I love being a part of it.
And same thing for you too, Sky, is just like, when we've been seeing a lot of DJs and a lot of shows and a lot of
Mhm.
the way that we've been seeing the rave community continue to grow. It's one of the passion projects of this particular show, VRC DJ Live, is just that fact is like the people that are constantly supporting what we've got going on in here know what's good. But after speaking
Mhm.
with a lot of DJs, even the past month, I went down to Miami and they have a huge networking opportunity before Ultra, where a lot of those
Mm.
DJs come in and we talk about the year, we talk about the tech, we talk about AI, we talk about all these
Mhm.
hot topic issues
Yeah.
as we continue to move forward. And guess what? Steve Aoki isn't going to be on the lineup of Ultra every year. He's a dad
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
He's growing
Yeah.
as a producer and
Yeah.
performer and stuff like that. He's also getting older. So at some point in time, we do need to talk about the new kids on the block. We need not the band, but the people,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and the people that are moving the future of technology forward. So the fact that PepperCast has been doing so much as far as the accolades on the website, how does that make you feel, especially being the owner of PepperCast, and being able to say, okay, every year you're raising the bar on what we potentially are going to accomplish somewhere in the future?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because it is how I view PepperCast as a group that differentiates itself from a lot of other adjacent organizations. And there's a and I never went to MIT, but I have friends that are a part of the MIT Media Labs, and I would go visit them just because they're always working on something nuts. Like they knew what VR was years before any of us. Um, and they say that just because the technology doesn't exist to do the thing you've dreamed of now doesn't mean you can't develop using what is available to represent it so that when the tech does become available, you're already there. You're not running to catch up or understand what it is. And that's what drives a lot of the MIT Media Labs and why they're so innovative is that they're always thinking in this like, okay, what's the next step? But then what's the next step? You know, and that's where we're going to play. And what do we have now that can do that? And excuse me, like what can we afford as well? You know, what can we get donated? What can we find? What can we source? What can we write someone? Like I just discovered a camera, for instance, that is claims to just sit in front of you and do a full body capture and generate a skeleton, and can drive finger capture data, facial mocap, everything into VRChat. That's the Move in 3D camera system. I still don't know how expensive it is. I imagine it's not cheap, but they have VRChat as a use case literally on their front page. And I was like, okay, so maybe you're targeting streamers that have a little bit of a budget or are looking to, you know, be a little more present. But that's, you know, we're constantly seeing stuff like that. We're constantly looking at that technology. We're always like, and it's a lot of work to stay on the bleeding edge of what's new and what's being developed, and also not fall into the rabbit hole of like becoming fully DIY, because that's a trap as well that, you know, makes your solution so bespoke that no one can use it. So you have to like find the middle ground. And so that's why, you know, over time, as PepperCast grows, I'm probably going to end up migrating into like a CTO position, the Chief Technology Officer, because that's going to be the maneuver that I brought to the table from day one, but also like what my value is as far as like, all right, I need to stay on top of this research. I need to be diligent. I can't get behind, but I also need to evaluate what's practical, what's usable, what's not going to break, and use my, you know, and I do have about 20 years of live show experience as an engineer and like media server technician, largely for video, and concerts and things like that. So like there's a balance as an engineer that you have to find between all of these different things to say, here's what we're going to do today with what we have available. And, you know, that means that I've had to say no to really cool stuff sometimes, because it's really cool, but it crashes. Like, you know, or it's really cool, but only one person knows how to program it. Like, you know, and so a part of what we do is we have to find stuff that has repeatable UIs. And I think that's one of the magic tricks that VRChat has pulled off, is it got tens of thousands of people to learn how to use a Unity SDK that was not turnkey. like you had to know Unity to some level in order to upload an avatar, let alone work on an avatar, let alone customize an avatar. Like, so you have all these people that now can have intelligent conversations about materials and textures and, you know, different.
So sorry.
Oh, you good?
Yep. My bad.
We can hold.
It's I mean, listen, you guys are partners, and you guys are, you know, friends, and you guys could sit on each other's lap if you want to.
Right, okay, there we
That's
go.
fine.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, but like, and yeah, I've been watching White Mage's comments in the chat, but yeah, it's like we now have a whole community of people that know how to talk about things that, you know, prior to COVID, we'd all be like, oh, what a nerd, you know, like, oh, how many material slots do you know, like what? Yeah, it was just like, what are you talking about?
Well, what's so fascinating about
yourself.
me? Oh yeah, but what's so fascinating for me, and like again, I don't want to continue talking about myself on this program, but being in here since 2018, you do see a revolving door from time to time, almost every year, of like people that are interested in wanting to learn how to do more. Either they implement it and they continue on with it. Some of them get really good at it. Some of them are just kind of basic hobby, and that's perfectly okay. But even now, like, I'm so blessed to go on X currently, just X, and on the VRCDJLIVE X, and on my feed, it is just a technological marvel of all the VRChat kids coming out with all cool stuff, and they're doing videos and GIFs, and they're just like, look what I made in the game, look what I did here, look what I did that, and all of it makes sense, and it's all positive and awesome, and maybe it is that time of the year that that showcases, okay, people are coming out of cabin fever, and they're kind of feeding into the summertime, and I'm also not saying that there's going to be a whole bunch of new users. I know I keep referring to them as kids because they're younger than me, but like, but like we'll be getting some new users coming into VR, and they're gonna do the exact same thing where they're gonna start with a basic avatar, and then their friend is gonna say, "You're gonna need full body, or you're gonna need a custom avatar, or something." But
And suddenly they're a cat girl, and they've reached the end.
yeah. Then they meet the furs, and then they get trapped in the furs, and then that's it. And that's literally like 2/3 of VRChat.
Oh, we've been joking about this pipeline for years, I feel.
And I think that's the thing of any like kind of a micro community thing is like a person gets introduced and it's kind of a life cycle thing of like you usually get like a year out of it if you're new, and if you don't really dive into it, it's all surface level stuff. You don't really like you can't develop past like the entry level version of it. You like, and then there's the people who are like, no, I love this. I want to know more. And those are the people that learn Unity and Blender. Not me. I can't get it. But like those people that take the time to learn it, those are the people that stick because they bothered to learn it, and then they learn the new things. I've been a part of another micro community before, and they have similar cycles of like there's the people that come and they stay for about a year and then they leave, whether that's because they lost interest or they just never really got into it, like it just never stuck with them. And like it's just a cycle that happens with every like super niche interest. Like even a video game, you get into it for a year, but you don't love it, and so it just dies out. And it's interesting to see the people in VRChat who just they stay and then they reiterate and they find new things and they discover more, and it just goes.
VRCDJLIVE. We're sitting here with PepperCast, SkyLight, the owner of PepperCast, as well as Turtles over here, who helps out with a lot of the promotion. And I want to make sure that I get it right. Being the project manager, and because it's super important to kind of do that. And as a founder, a solutions designer, and VR dance instructor too, which all of that is going to kind of lead into a lot of our conversations. It is a live program here, and we're only here for a short period of time. So for those people that are in chat, feel free to ask your questions. I know we're going to be talking a lot about tech. We're going to be talking a lot about VTubing. We're going to talk a lot about dancing. We're going to talk about how you were kind of getting into it. And like all of this is important because number one, like we were saying, you go to a lot of conventions. A lot of people will be going to the conventions. And to be fair, listen, I don't know if it's just in the air or it's in the water, but like every year it just tends to be 10% more attendees to these pop culture conventions. For someone who lives in Central Florida, they literally have anime meetups once a month. And we're not talking like, oh, just like 15 of y'all going to the bar and having a drink. We're talking like they're going to take over an entire Dave and Buster's. Well, you know, two DJs in the corner and everybody's doing Pokemon Go or like Magic the Gathering or something. Everyone's cosplaying, and it's just like, whoa, you know, this is a fascinating thing because now we're starting to take over the world, and that's cool. I like that. But but at the same time, you know, we do need to take some time to sit here and, you know, and ask the real questions and answer those types of questions, because like we were talking about earlier and how you were explaining too, that like people aren't getting that, they're not grasping the concept the way that we want them to. People are still thinking about it as calling it the metaverse or meta, because that's what they're ingrained in their brain, or even in the case of AI, right? People are having a hard time understanding it, and I'm hoping that in the future we're going to continue to get an idea, and not to completely derail this, but Armin van Buren ended up talking about this during the Winter Music Conference, and the way that he was explaining it was that AI currently is the worst version of AI we will ever get to experience, because people are going to continue to fine tune it. They're going to continue to work on it, and it will eventually get better. And that's the reason why we're so angry about AI right now, is that it's the worst thing ever. You know, like the AI slop is funny, but then the people that they're using AI to generate as a tool or a non-tool, it's garbage because it is fresh, it's brand new, and no one has beat out the kinks of it yet. You know, like it's still kind of So that's why when we do talk about it using those trigger words, it's tough
Mhm.
because, if you were to say AI as a term, 15 people in that vicinity are going to turn their head and be like, no, I don't want it. Like they'll just get really,
Yeah.
Mhm.
defensive about it. So as an owner of PepperCast, how do you explain what you guys got going on? What is the proper terminology that we should start using frequently
Mm.
to get known for the technology that you're bringing?
That's a really good question. I think that portal is a really good colloquial word. Like
Mhm.
it's just everyone's picked up on it, as just like a thing. But even in that, it's not specific enough to just describe one type of experience.
Mhm.
But I think it's still a useful word to use. Is like, hey, we're gonna have a portal. Um, and again, like I mentioned earlier on our website, we went to great pains to define what is a portal event to us, And so I think
Mhm.
that portal event also has it's easy to say, it's easy to think of, it evokes an image. So, and it's already like brand adjacent with VR because of the Valve game Portal 2. Like, there's stickiness to that term that I appreciate for multiple reasons. Um, and I think that it's also important not to have a term that sounds too intimidating, like real-time telepresent VR casting, is just like, ugh. like technically that's what it is, right? Like two-way telepresence. But that's a word that I will hop to quickly if someone is wanting to be more technical. As I say, well, this is telepresence. Like
Mhm.
there's a real-time two-way connection here.
Mhm.
And then they can use what information they're gathering of like, oh, this person is the same relative size as me. I can see them head to toe. Like this isn't just telepresence, but there's when we do it with a human on a green screen and we send that person somewhere else, we call it teleportation in video worlds and circles. So, virtual teleportation is something that we talk about, but even that's still not really accurate. It evokes, the imagination a little further, which double-edged sword, right? Um, but I think that honing in on telepresence is important because it challenges people both as people who are trying to understand it and also the crowd of people who are trying to do it to understand that, oh, the bar may have been perceived down here, but it's actually up here a little bit. In as far as like, I can't just stream, right? I need to low latency stream. I can't because it's hopping not just there but also back to me. There's a loop of, two streaming connections for every interaction that you have to consider. So like a lot of people on Twitch, you know, are seeing this 15, 20 seconds, maybe 5 seconds behind real time. It doesn't matter because there's no portal element to this. Like I'm not looking other than chat, which is instant because it's just text only. Like I can respond to chat instantaneously, so that's gratifying. But like I can't look at the people in chat and respond to them in real time in the same way. So you find tools, you find ways to do that. Another little tech tip is focus on good audio before you focus on good video, and separate your audio and your video. So if your video crashes, you maintain audio, because if someone can't um, like see you for a second, but they can still hear you, there's a chance that they'll stick around longer. Whereas if it's the other way around, they tend to walk away. Like if the audio dies and you just see someone and it looks like they should be talking to you, then there's less of a compelling reason to stay or watch the thing. And that's they've done studies to kind of determine that. Um, so that's kind of, before I lose the thread on it, but that's kind of like where I'm at in my head when I do a lot of this evaluating as well of like, what is it that we need to focus on maintaining? Like if the whole system crashes, what's the first thing I bring back up? Where do I go to bring this thing back online? Because internet blips all the time.
To bring it back to your question, for the less technologically savvy of us, I like to just use an action phrase of we bring virtual talent to live spaces, whether it's VTubers,
Mm,
whether it's dancers, or whether it's, we have brought virtual DJs out to live spaces. Um, all of those people are virtual and we are bringing them out to a physical space. So I prefer to rely on the action, not the way that we describe that action, because
mm,
telepresence sounds really old, and metaverse has Mark Zuckerberg's stamp on it,
mm.
and so all of these words
Yeah.
come loaded with them, so I find it better to focus on the action instead of the terminology.
Yeah.
I know, like the way that you guys were talking about. My next question was like, how were you going to package this to someone? Because as far as if you were going to use it as telecommunications,
Mm,
the way
Mhm.
I'm looking at it is before this interview, I actually had a phone call with my mother who was having a hard
Mhm.
time getting onto her Yahoo email account, and the only
mm.
way that I could help
Yeah.
her was to remote into her computer and guide
Yeah.
her by
Yeah.
using something visual. If she were to have a
Mhm.
Quest at home, that would have knocked down all those walls and parameters that I could
Mhm.
just literally go
Yeah.
over there and just be like, well, here you go. But in the
Mhm.
particular case of this, of like, when it comes to someone approaching the booth, or even looking into PepperCast, it is quite the
Yeah.
question of how do you package this type of a product to someone that is looking to communicate. And it might be super intimidating to be able to see a virtual
Mhm.
character. And
Yeah.
in I know we were just mentioning Chris Cox on their show earlier. The fact that we
Mhm.
had him on last week,
Mhm.
he joked over the fact, because he knows what I look like IRL. We've met
Yeah.
Mhm.
IRL a couple of times. I'm just this bald dude, and for him to be sitting at the computer, and I told him, I said, I wanted to meet with you to show you what I look like in virtual reality so you don't freak out. And he goes, oh, I wouldn't freak out. I would talk to her forever. And I'm like, well, that makes me feel a little weird, because now I'm like, sitting here doing this in real life. And I'm just like, well,
Funny.
this is kind of a thing. So that's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of the time, is like, you can market it as a
Oh, yeah.
telecommunications, a way of
Mhm.
communicating for those people that are looking for the next step in that direction. But between the two
Yeah.
of you, you were able to kind of showcase to us that in reality, it's more of the theatrical element that will add and
Mhm.
enhance that type of communication, especially with which we're going to kind of get into a little bit about how
Yeah.
you want
Mhm.
to incorporate dancers, you want to incorporate DJs and effects and all these things with big screens and this huge, it's like using
Yeah.
pyrotechnics without the pyrotechnics. It's like you get the
Yeah.
visual aspect, but it's
Yeah.
safe. And that's really neat.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really wise way of being able to approach all of that moving
Yeah.
forward. Before we get to Turtles, I want to kind of dive into SkyLight too. Originally, I was introducing you as a VR dance instructor or a regular
Mhm.
IRL dance instructor. And I know that your passions between that and learning about mocap technology, as well as the dance crew that you have in here, I kind of
Mm,
wanted to pick your brain a little bit about where you see the future of all of this is heading to. Obviously, we've been seeing a lot of dance troops in here. We've seen dance troops even
right.
before COVID, that
Yep.
were really trying to kind of bend the will of what is capable in virtual reality and what people can see. As well as we've had some b-boy dancers that actually went out to VCat and did a lot of stuff out there too, and they continue to make a lot of
Yeah.
cool content. So give us a little bit of a taste of what you're seeing with the VR dancers, and not even a matter of marketing it as far as a package of what PepperCast is doing, but
Yeah.
clearly you've been able to heighten that experience and raise the bar of what is capable and possible.
Raise the bar. Dance joke. Yeah.
Am I missing the joke
So
on that? Are
the
people
bar,
Timid.
raised?
BARRE, the ballet bar.
He's
Oh.
ballet
Oh, well,
ballet
sorry.
joke.
I don't proactively think about ballet, but I'm like, dude, like, are you kidding me? You'd be doing billets or whatever the heck they're called, or
Plie. Yeah.
plies.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm a DJ. I don't do dancing, but you're
Right.
doing
Right. Right.
plies,
Right.
so your arm is way up here.
We'll tell you what. We'll trade classes. I'll teach you how to dance. You'll teach me how to spin. It'll be
Bet,
great. Yep.
dude, you're in the mix with SkyLight. Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there's definitely an opportunity for dance studios and the people who teach dance, and the people who love dance to have more parity like just between virtual spaces and real life spaces. And we're working on a tool right now that's like a little briefcase that we ship that has all the stuff in it to link to our virtual dance studio that we built. And in the virtual dance studio, we have a big video wall that can be a portal into a dance studio so that a bunch of people virtually can attend a class. And like the challenge right now is, with dance instruction, once you get to a certain level, they're called corrections, when a dance instructor like looks at you and says, I need you to adjust, and so there's this IK factor that I know how to talk around and I know how to be smart about, because I know how IK works. And I know that I'm puppeting an avatar. This is not a literal representation of what my body is doing in space. It's an average or a best guess. But, and we use pens in our dance classes to be like, put your heel here and your toe here, and then move your heel here and make sure your toe's over there. And I'll make like little X's so that even if their foot doesn't visually go there, I know that I've given them a visual aid to hit. So it's like learning all those little tips and tricks and knowing that, for instance, if I do this, my elbows are out to either side. If I want that to be represented, I need to rotate my arms. And now my elbows are where they're supposed to be. So like learning your IK and knowing how to work around and asking people in your class, like, how big are people's play spaces? Do a walk for me so I can see what you're working with. How many trackers are you using? Okay, cool. Do you have elbow? Do you have chest? Do you have knees? And because those are things that, as you get more serious about dancing in VR, you're going to acquire those things and learn to work with them. But being the 101 instructor that I am, I'm not going to assume that or ask that of people. So there's a bit of a curve inside VR where, like, I think that we're going to see people realizing that they can express themselves in VR more than they originally assumed. And pole dancers and aerialists have done wonders for the VR community. Just like VRChat owes them a debt of gratitude, because they are the people that instill wonder in people who are new to VR and get them to stick around to be like, either A, I want to see more of that, or B, how is that happening? I want to figure out how to do it myself, or at least attempt it. Like the number of people who, we joke about okay, you're going to do this, now you're going to do that, now you're going to wear a female avatar, now you're going to be a cat girl, now, like there's that curve. In the dance community, we have, okay, you're going to get full body, and then you're going to want a pole, then you're going to want to see if aerial rigs are something you can fit in your house, like there's a whole list. And then you're going to see if you can get a tether or go wireless or find gloves. Like there's a whole pyramid that unlocks just because you've chosen to be what I call a power user in VR, and you're really pushing the technology to its limits. And we have someone in our dance company that we joke that like he has shattered so many index controllers and headsets, and like it's wild that people are just continuing to work against these limitations. And hopefully we're here to help soften the blow for some of that. Or one of the classes I teach that I think is going to remain relevant and never go away is injury prevention in VR. And I use the intro to ballet curriculum to teach it, because the goal is to develop a sense of what's called proprioceptive awareness. So like if you stick your hand over here, your hand's off to your right because you're not looking at it, but where it is in space. In VR, we lose that awareness really easily. And it's what leads us to running into a wall or tripping over our cat or stubbing our toe or punching our desk, all the things that we do because we're just so caught up in the moment of wherever it is. And, for me, I have my play space on constantly, just really dim. So I see the grid around me, so I know exactly where to go at all times. And I gave up having full immersion for that level of safety because I am always ready to dance in VR. like I'm always ready to get up and teach dance too, or advocate for dance, or like show someone what's possible. So I don't ever take that away. Not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone's going to be that kind of power user. But that's the VR side. The IRL side, I think that we're going to reach a point where teachers are going to want to have more access to larger audiences. And, there's a chance to have students in IRL studios meet dancers in virtual studios and have them collab. And we have a camera system that can put them side by side, and film music videos. And we've done that where we have like virtual dancers and IRL dancers wear the same costume and learn the same choreography. And we make a music video where the first half is the people in VR, and then they transform into people who are in reality. And then the finale is the both of them dancing together. And I think that more of this like cross reality entertainment is going to become a thing, because there's K-pop groups, for instance, that all have mascots. And we've had talks with some of them about like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if on your concert the people were dancing next to their mascots were dancing with them on stage, like who they are. Like there's a lot of opportunity for that kind of storytelling when it comes to the people who actually choreograph and concept entertainment around dance. So I know it's a little long-winded, but I see it having a lot of opportunity in both IRL and VR to grow immensely. In a sentence.
How far away from 100% are we from that idea?
Oh,
How far away are we from the idea of like real-time performers side by side?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're in the chair. So I want to make sure that.
Oh no. Yep,
Perfect. There you go.
Right,
at some point in time, I was like, we were going to come back and you were going to talk, and
Yep.
you're like, now I've become the chair.
Yes, I am the
But no, like the way that you were
Sorry.
explaining it was like there was an evolution of all of it, right? There's like where there was the concept of the idea of even just starting to do dancing in here, and then you have a bunch of people that are starting to kind of reinvent themselves and how they want to be represented in here, and then you have your passions in the future of what you want it to become, and so the question is with all of the passionate people and all of the experiences that we have in here currently, how far away are we from that 100% chance of a future that you're predicting?
I think that socially it's going to take longer to develop than it is technologically. And that's the case with a lot of things. Is like the technology usually creates the field, and then it's up to people to populate that field. Like you have to make the stage, you have to make the event, and then invite people. If you build it, they will come mentality of, a field of dreams. So I view a lot of that work that we're doing is kind of that you have to put in the hard work, you have to put in the grit, and you have to be ready for people to say, you're loco, dude. Like you're nuts. Like what are you doing? And you have to learn to like keep your dream alive because people are gonna. This is something that I remember thinking about, being like, oh, I know I'm gonna end up talking about this on the show tonight. Is like one of the big things that sets this back is the social infighting that happens in VR, the schisming, and the like. I don't like how you're doing this. I'm gonna go and do it on my own, because there's no currency here right now that is money. It's all social currency. And so I tell people that like VR is like on hyperspeed when it comes to new communities going away and new communities forming. And as an organization, we had to do the threat assessment of like, how do we keep ourselves out of that? And how do we keep our organization intact? And a part of that was the nonprofit, but another part of it was like interviewing everyone and having people audition. Like, we're not just going to open the gates and let everyone in. We're going to say, here's the dance company. It's at 30. That's how many people we know we can support. So like, because the social maturity in VR, and that's not the focus of VRChat. Like, they don't want everyone to come into VR to learn to be socially mature. Like, that's not their goal. And people come into VR because they just want an escape as well. And it will always be that, and it always should be that. But we chose to create a space where we can create a visible bar to say, here's where you could go if you wanted. like you could challenge yourself to not just be a degen or not just go to these clubs, or like this could be a source of you meeting some fitness goals, learning a new skill, getting over stage fright in a virtual environment so that you can go audition for being a dancer for something in real life. Like, we want to compel people to get out of VR, actually. So our organization kind of is an Ouroboros in that sense, like a snake eating its own tail, because we want initiatives that reward people for going and taking an IRL dance class based on, hopefully learning from us in VR, like how to go into a dance studio with a lot of confidence, knowing the etiquette and knowing the proper way to behave, and not to sit in a corner and meme with your friend and tell dirty jokes and, show the dankest meme, that you could find. Like, you're going to get kicked out of a dance studio if you do that in real life. So I think that there's a little maturity that needs to be gained just in niche places. Like let VRChat stay VRChat and let it be a social pool. Let the black cat stay the black cat. Like let people find their niche communities, and we need time to mature those and show more content that represents the level and quality of work that we want to do. And I'll close with an example. Hatsune Miku opened for Lady Gaga like 8 years ago on tour, right? And to me, that was like a shining example. Granted, it was pre-recorded. Like, how awesome would it be if it was one of our dancers? But like a pre-recorded performance where something that was in relative obscurity prior now has been shown as being really compelling content. And I think the only other one, there was Tupac at Coachella, and there was the Gorillaz and Madonna at the Grammys that were all holograms on a Pepper's Ghost screen. And again, they're all pre-recorded experiences. So I think that, and this is where the cast comes in our, like, it's the real-time element. We need to advocate for more real-time performances and real-time exchanges and deal with the jank that brings. And that's going to be what pushes this forward. And that's what's going to make it more relevant, is not relying on the safe feeling of a recording of a performance that just gets rebroadcast, like focusing on the live element of what it is you're doing. And, people don't go to a NASCAR race just to watch turn left for 2.5 hours. They go because there's going to be a crash, or there's going to be like an exciting, hockey is the same way. So like, that's all part of what we're doing, is like, the reason why humans are compelling to watch is because we're flawed. So don't make it perfect, which is why we'll never have AI or animations as a part of the work we do. Like, we may have particle support or like scenery or things like that, but we're never going to allow our dancers to hit a button and do a backflip as a part of a thing. Like, and we're never going to let them use AI. That join another group, do like that's totally valid for people to do. And I know even musicians that are fully AI now that like use AI to be a complete band, and it's like, okay, cool. That whatever floats your goat, that's not what we are. And there's plenty of space online. Like you said, there's so much space in a world like to have. And on one of your previous shows, someone was talking about the scale. I think it was when you had Tepper on, they were talking about like, hey, you can have like a massive world as big as you want. You can only fit 80 people in it at the end of the day. So getting people to understand scale is another challenge. So I could keep going on this topic for a very long time. So I'm going to stop myself there, but I think that's like the heart of it.
Well, all of it makes a lot of sense too, because like, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to have these open conversations with a lot of different people, because we as humans, beep boop, beep boop. We all as humans, I'm trying to find a really good, like, intelligent way of explaining this, but like,
Yeah.
we as humans like we have our own version of experience and we have our own version of success. And when it
Mhm.
comes to just like how you were explaining it, that you can come in as a 101 and get to learn how to do
Mhm.
dancing, and or you could be an advanced dancer, or you could learn how to do specific genres of dancing and different types of
Mhm.
dancing. And you could just be a hobbyist, but you could go as a professional. And the thing about the way that the visual the actual representation of the internet in VR is just that, is like you can do however you want, but people will come and go. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
we have to accept that they could either stay or they can leave.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
at the same time, that's okay. That's okay to feel
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way. And we've seen it from time to time where we're just like, man, we really wish that so and so would come back to VR. And in this
Mhm.
particular
Yeah.
case, maybe they were going for something a little bit more mature or more professional.
Mhm.
And we have to let them kind
Mhm.
of do whatever they're doing, but we have to just say, come on back when you feel like it. But we also
Mhm.
know we support you in your decisions and wanting to do that. So being able to understand how you were explaining how you want to, get a lot of dancers in here. People want to start to learn, but there's a lot of people that want to go pro with it. But we
Mhm.
also have the tools to be able to give you that as well. But it
Mhm.
would be terrifying and terrible to keep them in here to do that. We want to
Oh
be able to
Yeah.
goodness,
give
yeah.
them that
Yeah.
idea that you can carry
Yeah.
on, and that's fine because you could always come back.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you could also be silly in here and enjoy yourself
Mhm.
with that. So being able
Yeah.
to explain that is super important to our scene because again, there's just a lot of
Yeah.
anxieties of
Mhm.
just that, of like, we have a
Mhm.
lot of professional DJs, and not to completely jump the gun on this, but obviously this
Yeah.
weekend is going to be one for the books as well because Sanctum is coming back. Sanctum is
Yep.
having a
Mhm.
2-day thing going on. They've been gone
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
literally almost 2 years. And
You'll
now
see some
Yeah.
of our dancers over
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to see the labors of your work then, obviously.
Yeah.
But being able to be a part of that and also understanding that process and as well. I got to speak with Muzz at Liquidity 2 years ago and asked him
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
entire concept because he's
Yeah.
just as infatuated with the idea of what we do as much as any other DJ that could be. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot
Mhm.
of time or influence to be able to do that, but because
Mhm.
he's carrying on with another career, but he's still very passionate about that. And it's okay to have both. You can.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
totally cool. And some of the DJs and some of the professionals in here, they need
Mhm.
to know what path is going to be their next big move in their lives and what they're doing here. I want to
Yeah.
pass the
Mhm.
baton here to Turtles real quick and kind of get her opinion on all the different things of PepperCast as well. I'm glad you were
Right.
able to
Yeah.
mention PepperCast too, because I was going to ask you that ridiculous question, being like, why PepperCast? But I mean, obviously
Right.
that makes a little bit more sense when you're using the Pepper's Ghost thing. Me
Yeah.
being a Disney nerd, I know all about that. But
Yeah.
I want to kind of dive in about the whole project manager position that you hold here for Pepper's Cast, and just
Mhm.
understanding you have a very good idea of your role within it, and understanding the customer service and the promotion part of it all. So what kind of
Mhm.
keeps you motivated, especially knowing that virtual reality is becoming a thing and people are so passionate and learning about it? What keeps you
Yeah.
motivated to continue on with this process of understanding, especially now that we know you have dancers involved and you're really making a business out of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said earlier, like the people that we work with are so talented and like being able to facilitate these experiences and these opportunities for them is the least that I can do. So I joined PepperCast, started working as a project manager, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably get a master's degree. Why don't I just get one in management and continue doing the stuff that I'm doing here, but at a master's level, and got a master's degree last year in doing the stuff that I've been doing, with PepperCast, and I feel like the stuff that I'm doing is only because the people that I'm doing it with are like they are talented people. We work with people that are, moving out to like Los Angeles and teaching, in-person dance classes, and then they're like, "Oh, can I come back and teach VR dance classes with PepperCast?" And it's like, "Yeah, why not?" Like, one of our dancers is actually, like, you know, we have professional dancers on our team. We have people that are, they need to step away for, a couple months because they have personal stuff coming on, and then they make it a point to come back because they find it so valuable to work with us. And even if we take a hiatus, say we don't have a couple a things to work on or active conventions or whatever are going on, they make it a point to stay in contact with each other. We're trying to have, virtual events, happening. We had a new venue open up, and so we're trying to have a point to be in VR with our team now. And it's it's like, once again, these connections that we're making, we're trying to make sure that these people are being fulfilled, whether it's in VR or outside of VR. And the dancers, are they learning the skills that they want to do? If not, can we find somebody that can help them get these skills? The Even the devs, it's like, hey, one of them in particular, he was like, I'm actually between jobs, so I can pick up some more stuff right now. And it's like, cool, here's a bunch of stuff we're working on. What is it that you want to do? And he's taken off with some projects and he's doing an incredible job. And the people that we work with are really talented and actually are interested in doing what they're doing, not just because it's something to do, but because they are genuinely interested in working with PepperCast and seeing what they can do and further the technology and further their abilities and further their knowledge. And I just enjoy being able to facilitate even a little bit of it.
This is going to sound like a really hard but broad question, especially
Yeah.
because since we have been learning that Rec Room is closing their doors fairly soon,
Mhm.
and I would only assume their 5 to 15,000 users might just kind of come into VR chat. Where do you
Yeah.
kind of see virtual reality and even the things that VR chat has been able to accomplish so far? Where do you see that kind of going in the near future compared to, basically all the different things that you may have heard about the platform or even in virtual reality to begin with?
Yeah. I mean, I think that as long as there's continued support and we figure out what we wanna do as a platform and the communities stay consistent. Like, once again, that SkyLight mentioned, the infighting thing, I know that micro communities are prone to do that, any micro community is prone to doing that. Um, People just have to be able to find the groups that they're comfortable with, whether that's like, "Hey, I really like this one specific anime," and so they all, gather together about that one specific thing, or, whatever it is that they're interested in, they have to be able to find their communities and be able to get along. So the new people from Rec Room, they whatever it is that they did over there, if they're able to come over here and, enjoy that thing that they did over there here, I think that that's good. The people from whoever used Metaverse, you know, if they're able to find that here, I think, they will continue using it. It's because they were using all of these things for connection, and VR chat is a great way of finding connection. I know that Basis is also coming along too as a potential for, you know, being a non-VR chat thing, but it's completely different than VR chat. It's a specific thing instead. And so I think it's just like people are coming here to find connection is what it comes down to at the end of the day. And just being able to find those communities that they can be part of and find those friends is the real reason that people would be coming back and be using VR chat as a whole.
That's a really smart answer too, because from time to time we have to remind ourselves that, you know, again, if you're coming in here to find garbage, you will find garbage. That if you,
Absolutely.
if you're coming in thinking, man, I really hope I don't get proximity chat, and then you run into proximity chat, that's your own fault
Yeah.
for trying to figure out where
Yeah.
those guys are at. But at the same time, too, like you have a choice and a decision on coming in here
Yeah.
and having either deep conversation or hanging out with a specific tribe or a specific group, especially with the ravers and the DJs in here too, is that it does take you some significant time to do that. Yep.
It does. And he gets on to me all the time as like most of the people that I know are people that he already knows or people from specifically PepperCast already because
Yeah.
I tend to be very introverted normally whenever I'm not helping facilitate things for PepperCast. So I am the person that gets mistaken for a bot in the corner of a room who doesn't move for for a long period of time because I'm doing other things and I'm just sitting with my dog and next to me in VR usually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your
And
proper excuse? Like, oh, I'm making a sandwich. I'm
exactly.
making dinner right now, or something. Yeah.
But yeah, like my dog just sits next to me in VR, so I just sit here petting him the whole time, and so I don't approach people most of the time, and so I'm just like, yeah, I don't have anyone to hang out with, and he gets on to me all the time because it's just like, well, you don't talk to people, and it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, you don't form connections if you aren't actually trying to talk to people. Now, sometimes you don't like the people you end up talking to, and that's a whole other story. But if you aren't even trying, then you don't know.
See, that's the time that
yeah.
if you dislike with whoever's talking to you with, you could automatically assume that they are NPC or they are anime. And be like, okay, crazy green haired lady over here, and
Exactly.
full body floating guy over here, full body wizard who's floating around. You could totally do that. It's VRCDJ Live, and we're sitting here with PepperCast and SkyLight and Turtles of PepperCast, kind of talking a little bit about the cross reality and the portals. And again, I want to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. I want to make sure that we're saying it correctly, for the future, that we're talking about portals and understanding portals. We do have a little bit of time on our regular 2-hour program, and I do want to just touch a little bit upon some of the accolades and some of the stuff that you guys have already been cooking up. But I also want to dedicate a little bit of extra time in the whole VTuber market, because obviously I think a lot of people are interested in talking a little bit about it. Obviously in chat, we have a couple of people talking about how they've been making avatars and environments for streamers and feeding into that economy and understanding the economy. And also too, it's ever changing, especially for those people that are proactive. I would assume that the amount of money spent on a custom avatar in VRChat is almost fighting up against how expensive it would be to get a fur model done, like a actual fur suit. You're spending tons of money on accuracy and being able to do that. But how weird is it to be able to tell mom and dad that's what you do for a living? That's another thing. It's like, I make virtual boy, virtual girl, and this is how much money I get paid, and they're just like, cool. Awesome. That's really exciting that you do that. But the same
in this
thing,
economy, the fact that you're cashing checks, win.
Yeah, and the same thing too, the fact that you guys are literally putting together like these portal virtual experiences. People are like, shut up. That's a fun hobby, but at the same time you guys are doing it and you're making it into a career. So speaking of which, again, some of the things that we had been talking a little bit about is the first ofs. I know one of the things that on your website showing ShelterCon 2 being the first ever like portal concert event. And again, people could go online and go on Reddit and poke you with a stick and be like, no, it was this one. But at the same time, ShelterCon has literally exploded and it's gotten a really high bar and stuff like that. And some of the other fun things that I saw on there, obviously several music video projects, and the AR experience with Meow Wolf, is this 2-year residency with Club Kaiju. And I was kind of feeding into it a little bit about some of the things that they've been wanting to do and the concepts of that. Talk to us about how that kind of got put together, because being able to say, hey, we're doing a 2-year residency with a club, like an actual nightclub, to be able to bring all these virtual experiences on top of it, mostly anime stuff. So be able to explain that concept and be able to talk a little bit about how that concept either continued or if you're still with it, or just give us an idea of how that future is being based.
Because I think that was like, you joined us through Club Kaiju stuff.
I
Like
did,
we were
yes.
already in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the germination of that was we were in a hacker space that only had a swamp cooler in Dallas, Texas initially, and we were trying to host events out of their space and with relative success. That's actually where we first met Zombie Doll and Oral Umbra because they came out
Mhm.
to an event at this, and like bless them for dealing with the heat and humidity. But they were just like, oh, we have to check this out. Like it's a VR event. And it said there was going to be real VR people here. Um, and I was actually dancing behind the mesh at that event and realized very quickly how impossible it is to like be a host at an event, advocate for it, also dance for it, also be the troubleshooter and everything. Like this is back in the days where I had to learn to set up everything by myself, and it was a night. I was dead the next day every time we did an event because there's just so much work. And but I have to give that hackerspace props because that's where we really figured out like we needed to. You said we could swear on the program, so we needed to figure out like, are we shitting or getting off the pot on this idea? Like, and I remember talking to my friend Donnie, who runs Club Kaiju at the time, and he was talking about how like they're starting to get more serious as well with their events, and he's going to start, putting a lot more into this. And there's a fun history that I didn't know about until much later, where some of the people who were behind some other VR projects that were actually really well formed for a minute there were working on the Club Kaiju staff prior to going into VR. So Donnie already had an understanding of like VR as an entity, if he wasn't already familiar with it as like a scene, let's say. So we pitched to Club Kaiju and Donnie that like we need to mature these ideas. We need a place where we can fail forward. We need a place where people can see what we're doing, and we're not just doing it in a garage, where no one, we're working our butts off for this thing. Like we need a little bit of recognition. We need to be able to let our talent feel like they're seen, so that they don't feel like they're just being used for a never-ending lab. Like we're giving them a performance opportunity. And so that's where that all came from, was like, and then what was really funny is as soon as people heard that Club Kaiju and PepperCast were working together, there was like a lot of people that just approached us out of nowhere. Some people not so like with the best intentions either. Like people started just going to Club Kaiju and being like, we can give you VR dancers. Like let me do this. Let me do this. And we were all like, bro, we've already like we're doing this and it's in real time. Like we're not just like, I think there was an assumption that like Club Kaiju had invented the technology to do it initially.
Mhm.
And so people thought that they just had the ability to show up with talent or a desire to perform. And, like everyone we decided to partner with in those early days, we had to quickly realize like we had to be more selective with who we had to vet people, because there was a lot of people that we would be like, oh yeah, we'll work with you. And then we find out they don't have any equipment. They don't know how to use the equipment, or they're attached to workflows that we've already deprecated years ago when we were, first developing this stuff and validating it all. And they're still in the beginning phases of their journey, understanding what it takes to do this. And like, for me, any partnership of any kind needs to be a mutual exchange, or at least close to. So as soon as there's no mutual exchange between two groups, I think that it's hard to do, but you need to say, hey, I don't think that this is going to work out, and you can do that with like, here's just a firm no, or, maybe here's some things that we need you to work on in order for us to work together in the future. But we found that a lot of people were really, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like not receptive to that type of feedback. Like no one likes to get broken up with. And when we decided to kind of hone in and really develop our product on our own, I think that is where we came into our own stride. And at the same time, I think the community realized that we weren't just a resource to help them grow without them having to commit something in return. like knowledge or training or you know some help with equipment even, because we fill up a full Toyota RAV4 with equipment like brim to brim when we go to a show, even if it's just for a nightclub, to get everything up that we try and do. And to talk about the tech for 2 seconds, I would say that the cheapest we could produce this, if you were to buy all of the gear out of pocket, would be around 10 grand. After you factor in computers and the GPU, well, more now, probably 11 or 12, because GPUs and RAM have kicked it up. But like, that's not a small investment, and a lot of people in VR are a part of that Dunning-Kruger curve that I've talked about, where they develop a false sense of expertise and proficiency because they're doing something in a very compelling simulated environment, producing events. And like, they're being told maybe by a world dev, hey, I can only do this many lights because of performance issues. Well, they don't have to raise a single dollar to know that if you wanted that mover that you see in that VR venue in real life, you're going to need $4,000 to buy the light. You're going to need a technician to be paid to hang the light. You're going to need to pay a programmer to program the light. You're going to need an operator to operate the light. You're going to need insurance for the venue that the light lives at. Like, there's just so much more to it that people just don't understand. So we decided very early on that we weren't going to be an incubator for people who were in VR to learn how to be producers. And that was a hard decision that we had to make and draw a line on and be like, if you're going to be a promoter or producer, you need to learn that on your own. We will go under if we try and do that for you. And that's why we focused on the dance company as well. So I hope that answers your question, because I know that got a little bit broader, but
Well, the whole idea too, and it's going to lead to the $1 million question, which I'm going to be asking you just in a few seconds. But like, it's understanding the technology and how we can move forward with it, and how people can implement it, and on top of it too is the eternal feedback that you're getting, and the venue is getting, and the performers are getting. At the end of the day, for the DJs, they're performing, and that's just another really cool thing that they can put in their portfolio, explaining, okay, not only did I perform here, but all of these other things kind of got put into play. And leading into the $1 million question, one of the things that I actually got to see and have discussions with was the development team for the rave at Furry Weekend Atlanta, that also work hand in hand with Furality as well. But like, I was able to go to one of the many raves that they had, and one of the things is like how you were explaining that they had like a team of 15 in the back doing all sorts of things between the video and the audio, and they had multiple cameras, they were streaming, they had all of that going on, but at the same time too, they were able to kind of implement newer technology featuring video editing using Resolume and other type of programs, but also be able to time code it with the set that is going on. And at the time, a lot of the time coding was based off of video that was pre-shot in VRChat, and then also mapped to specific screens that were on in the rave. And it was fascinating, because if you've had the stereotype that furries have money and time and intelligence, that was it. Yeah. That was their holy grail, to sit there and go, what's next? Because they have it all. Yeah. They're doing it all, and they're amazing with it. And that's the problem, is like, there are so many other raves that I've been to that anime raves that have the kind of concept of where they're heading, but they are so hesitant to take the next step to say, is this what we want? And again, without diving too far into it, these are the discussions that I've been having with Comic-Con in Alabama. It seems that every time that I'm invited to perform there, I have conversations with their president and some of their staff and say, because they love that idea that they want to continue to push the envelope between having actual dancers or some sort of a virtual mirror within VRChat and being able to explain that
Yeah.
people are dancing all across the world and stuff like that. But from a bird's eye view of the people that are actually in the audience experiencing that, do they care enough? And does it heighten their experience? Does it hinder it? Would they rather have the strobe light visuals that give them seizures? Would they rather have the connection of people actually dancing and having a good time with it? Those questions are so hard to answer because everyone's experiences are a little different. And when it comes to conventions too, as you guys may have also seen from people that come up to your booth, is that all ages of a spectrum of who's wanting to involve their time with that. Obviously, we love to see kids because they love fantasy and that type of nature of play. But when you have someone that breaks down the fantasy into a tech version of it, it's hard to actually be like, no, Mickey Mouse is real. He's right here. You know, like to be able to explain it like that is such a hard concept to grasp. And that's the $1 million question on all of this is like with the tech that you have and with the future of how it's consistently being built and the things that you've known and the experiences from Club Kaiju that you've been able to experience. Where do you see this technology in the future for anime conventions? Can we see more of this in the future? And do you think that it is does it have its own validity and weight and money value to what you want to provide, and being able to see that virtual dancer up there and being like, well, that's a really cool thing to see?
So the answer is, of course, yes. And there's two angles to answer it from in my mind. One is because the tech and innovation is just always going to be there. That's a constant factor. It's the interest of the ticket holder at the end of the day that drives the promoters, and it's the promoters' perception of what their ticket holders want as well that drives all of this. So the two things that you're going to see really grow this space are when influencers are involved and they're advocating for it, such as BB No Money partnering with Iron Mouse. Huge organic explosion of attention around the VTuber space. And, you know, both a lift for his brand and for Iron Mouse, especially since she had just decided to announce that she was going indie. Like, getting more prominent talent in the VTuber space involved with conventions in a way that feels more immersive and is more engaging than just a 2D television or a flat experience on an LED wall. Like for us, AR, figuring out ways to create holograms on stage, dealing with like our Portal Cube development where there's like a person that you feel is sitting in front of you at the table. You know, we're looking at 3D displays that are glasses free as a way of having people have an interaction with us. There's so many layers that you can add to a visual design. And you see this in concert touring all the time. They're always pushing the envelope of like the light show and the video show and the quality of the audio that you experience when you go to a concert. So like I was a part of the team that built the Brooklyn Mirage, rest in pieces, that is out in oh goodness, what's the group? The group from Ibiza that bought it recently. But you know, they've been reclaimed, but they were the first venue I went to that I was like, I'm surrounded by an LED wall that is like 40 feet high and, you know, 400 feet wide. So that if I'm in the pit and I'm all the way up there, or if I'm on stage, I am just immersed in the visuals. Like, that's the type of stuff we need to have more of. Madison Square Garden Sphere is, I joke on it all the time because, you know, have you ever seen that Invincible meme where it's like, look at the power they need to match our, like, look what they require. It's like the F-15 jets flying overhead. It's like, you know, I point at the sphere. I'm like, look at what they need to do to replicate. They need $1 billion project to replicate what we experience in VR. Like every time we go to a concert. So with, you know, maybe more of a tangible social element and a $500 ticket burning your pocket per person. But, you know, that's an argument for VR in my mind.
So, as someone who I'm usually the person taking the footage on the floor, whereas he's usually behind the table during the after parties that we have done, and usually during the Club Kaiju events that we've done. Um, I'm the one that's interacting with the attendees that are on the floor that are, you know, d- dancing and drinking and looking at the the pretty screens and all that stuff.
Yeah.
um, and it's so fun to watch how they are engaging with the event, and then I'm talking to them and they're like, "Oh, so what are you doing here?" Because I'm just standing there with my phone, taking video and pictures of our dancers because they all like to have proof and footage of what they're doing because it's,
Memories. Yeah.
it's fun to have like, you know, this is what I did over the weekend, kind of thing. And this is what I can show my friends. And so whenever I tell them like, "Oh, that's a real person. We brought them here." And like that's a real person. Like they can see what's happening here and their minds are just blown every time. Like whenever they realize like, "Oh, that person's now copying that meme dance that somebody on the floor is doing." Or whatever it is that's happening. Like they're able to like have that once again, the moment of realization that it's actually happening in real time. And I've never seen anybody that seemed embarrassed about it, like, during those events. It's always like a thing of like, "Oh, this event just got cooler because I realized there's other people that are here with us, and there's more here than I thought." Like, it's another level of, like it's not lore, but it's, like, another level of, like, something else that's here that I wouldn't be able to see anywhere else, but at this party right now. And it's really fun.
I think it's also kind of a replicate of like when you first come into VR chat, you want to be a character that you recognize and then be in front of a
Mhm.
mirror and see what they look like when you do like a weird wiggle dance or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of people I use
Yeah, yeah,
the example of Peter Griffin. Everybody wants to come in and go, hey,
Mm.
just kind of do whatever Peter
yeah.
Griffin's
Mhm.
doing just because that's a very
Yeah.
funny, silly thing to do. But
Mhm.
I think the only takeaway that I've ever gotten from that is like if you're gonna go raving, you're gonna go want to be raving with someone that you would have never thought about raving with.
Mhm.
And occasionally from some of the raves that I performed at, it's usually Sonic the Hedgehog. Like he's usually out
Yeah.
there busting a move or Sailor Moon. And like you'll always
Yeah.
you'll always see like Panty and Stocking out there doing a thing because you're expecting that. Or in this particular case with the Amazing Digital Circus, you have Kane breaking it
Yeah. Oh my
down
God.
and maybe Pomni's doing something, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So being able
Well,
to implement it with that idea as well of
yeah,
understanding
I mean,
too.
we'll have, like, a gorgeous, like, one of our dancers will be in, like, this gorgeous, like, m moth-themed girl, and she does pole, and she'll just be up on the screen, and it's just, like, their brains are, like, trying to comprehend what it is that they're looking at, and it's such an
Yeah.
amazing thing to even see
Does
because
she
like,
do it with
they
a
might not
light pole, like
I
a
don't think
street
she
light?
does it with a light I don't
No,
think
that
it's a
would
light
be
pole,
adorable though.
but
I know what you're
yeah.
getting
Yeah,
at.
because
That would
if
be
she's
really
a
cute.
moth girl and she's
Yeah.
dancing and she's on a
Yeah.
pole when the light and she's
Yeah, yeah, but singing in the
You should
rain
have
moment.
mentioned that.
that would be funny. That would
That would be,
I
definitely
think
yeah.
that
record that.
if she hears that or if we bring that to her, she will very likely make that like overnight.
Hilarious. And then hopefully,
Yeah.
and then at the end of her set, that she'd
Yeah.
get zapped, and then the light goes out, and
Yeah,
then
there you go.
poof, that's kind of a thing.
But like you're touching on something here though that I want to make sure we call out because this is what makes a lot of our long-standing relationships with conventions and shows last is when we have these kinds of conversations and they figure out how we can be an element of storytelling for their event. So
Mhm.
if the event is themed, that's where
Yeah,
we shine.
yeah.
Like if they're gonna do a succubus rave, like which
Mhm.
we've done, and then I let all our dancers know, be like, all right, y'all get to wear demon horns and be appropriate, but like you put like little spade tails or whatever you want on your avatars. It's all themed around this. Like we'll
Mhm.
do that. And so now not only are you getting costumed performers for your event to
Mhm.
further the theme, but we're using their dancing not just as an avatar on stage, but their movement is driving visuals that are fully bespoke to that event and will never be seen again. And it's
Mhm.
called generative content, like is the
Mhm.
term for that. Where, you know, like someone is doing something that generates the content in a certain way. So it's like the amount of bespoke and the amount of custom and the amount of like uniqueness that we provide with our dance company coming to I just don't think that enough people know that it's even possible for
Yeah.
us to be as, you know, as in demand as because when people see what we do, they're like, how are you not booked every single weekend somewhere? And we're just like, because we're not trying to be
I
like,
mean, and
like, yeah,
this is why Meow Wolf likes working with us because they
yeah,
tell us like a story or a theme or something, and they're
yeah.
like, "So what is possible whenever we use VR?" It's like, "Okay, so we want to do, New Year's, and it's this theme, and it's like, okay, well, what's the story that you're trying to tell here?"
Mhm,
And each person that we have up in the Meow Wolf space gets their own character with their own backstory and their own like they get to cultivate their own
yeah,
unique experience that they present to each of the attendees and everything else. It's like each thing is so specific and in places like Meow Wolf, like this is it's an interactive exhibit. Like they live for art. And so this is like
mhm,
purely like this is their passion, and so it's like something like that is we love working with them because they see what we do, and they understand the work that goes into it, and they're like, "We want to see more of this because
mhm.
this further, like, helps artists and, you know, it works with, like, what we love to do."
Well, and it gives us a chance to challenge our team as well,
Mhm.
which is really important to me that we're constantly challenging our company to train and grow because if they're not, then what are they doing? What are we doing?
Yep.
And we will hold 3 or 4 rehearsals before an event like that where we'll do character development and we'll talk through costume choices and we'll encourage them to like work on their avatars between rehearsals so that we can see them develop and they can show their peers and we challenge them to show us their work. And that's there's a workflow we use called etudes that comes from physical theater pedagogy that we follow that allows us to iterate and just always be developing and growing without ever feeling like we're reading from a script or like we're trying to be like, you know, here's the play and here's the script, learn this. Like that's not what we do. We're more along the lines of like have fun, grow lore. You know, do you like D&D? That's what we're doing here. Like embody this thing and the experiences that come out of that are just amazing to watch. Like the amount of riffing and like people just coming out of their own shells in the process of learning improv alone is like I get choked up watching it happen sometimes and I look back at our team members and see how far they've come from being like, you know, a really quiet, you know, kind of yeah, I'm just here to like have some fun and maybe learn a dance move or two. And all of a sudden they're like leading an exchange for like 2 hours off and on with performers coming up to them and the guests coming up to them to talk to them. And I don't know. I love seeing that personally.
Being able to have all of those experiences while being even just attending a rave, I know that's kind of what we're at right now in the conversation,
Mhm.
especially with the DJs and things coming up. Being able to build that lore and having more of an experience with that, with character development, definitely makes the night even more amazing. And being able to just, integrate much more of an experience than just the music. And I mean, the DJ's job is to provide that specific lore based on the music
Mhm.
selections that they wanted to integrate
Yeah.
with, but they also are in tune with the crowd and the things that they want as well. So being able to add that extra layer
Mm.
is super important to the entire idea of all of that. I want to be able to dive into more promotional things that you guys have coming up. I know we're going to be talking a little bit about your concept for a television show. I want to be able to talk a little bit about that too. But
Yeah.
before we get to that, I want to just quickly touch upon VTubing, and I want to be able to touch upon where you guys are seeing for even the conventions that are coming up. I know that you're going to be featured at Level Up in a couple weeks, or I believe in next week. That's also
2 weeks.
that's really big for the VTubing community. That's really big for pop culture in general. So where do you see PepperCast involved in the VTubing economy and the landscape of it moving forward? I know again you're kind of focusing on a little bit more visuals, theatrics, dancing, light, sound, as well as performance, and that's all VTubing too. But like, so
Right, yeah.
I want to kind of pick your brain on that, because I
Yeah.
would assume that you guys have had conversations about that, and from your experiences of what you've been able to see, even in a VTuber village, all the different technological stuff that they are kind of accomplishing, even just this year alone.
So
So
yeah, it's really important that we communicate to everyone, and very soon when people meet us, that we're a platform. Like that's what is at the heart of everything that we're doing. So PepperCast is a term that people are coming to associate with like what they see us for from the first time. Initially in VR, that was the dancers. Well, now you're seeing us more at conventions, so it's more the technology. So like we're starting to get a blend of people who join our Discord that like see us at different phases within our projects, and that, eventually they're like, oh, you guys do more. So like when it comes to what we are, we're always going to be a platform that gives virtual talent access to real spaces, and that's at the heart of everything that we're doing. We want people to feel like just because they're behind a computer or in a VR system, they're not stuck, on this half of the social circle that is reality. Like they're not stuck online, they're not stuck in a virtual world. Like that they have the ability to be present at other places, and especially if they have like a health issue or something that, maybe they can't go outside as much, or maybe they're home for any number of reasons, like that they can still develop a fan base, build on their lore, build on their brand, build on who they are as a person, and engage with fans in ways that are really novel even, and not limited. But that's kind of my short answer, is that like it's really important that people understand that we're a platform for me. And I know that that's similar, but you have like a slightly different take on it.
yeah, mine's actually shorter. Um, so the way that we work with VTubers is that we are a facilitator of technology. Um, we have the gear. We don't have the VTubers, obviously. We are not an agency. So we work with purely independent VTubers. Uh, everyone that we've worked with so far, completely independent. They are their own VTuber. They have their own content, their own style, whatever it is. They just have to be a 3D VTuber. And so we like have the time, have the space. They book the space with us. They work with us. We are just there to provide an experience for them to be able to come to a convention the same as anybody else, the same as any other talent, and be able to help, um, have them interact with people in real time and meet new people. And I think that that's a great experience for anyone to be able to have, and that they don't have to be some big time VTuber to be able to get that experience. They don't have to have the little scooter thing, and they don't have to be, signed on to an agency to be able to have that.
All of that is very good information, and like we want to keep bringing that up too, because outside of whatever we do in VR chat and virtual reality, from time to time we've had people in our community refer to us as being VTubers as well, which in a sense, sure, depending on what type of content you're providing, but in an ever changing market, in an ever popular market, and a very
Mhm.
accessible market where anybody
Mhm.
can literally start with the bare basics, whether it
Mhm.
be a PNG tuber or something that they just kind of slop together on some free website or something.
Yeah.
Or in
Mhm.
this particular case, for those model makers making VRMs to put
Yeah.
into some sort of a virtual mirror application. Everybody is finding their own way of creating themselves in a VTuber space. And
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
as any particular hobby or passion, whether it be DJing or dancing or what
Mhm.
have you, you're gonna find your means to get what you want to do and be able
Yeah.
to push your passions further. That will get you a little bit more uh, awareness, I guess, or a
Mhm.
little bit more attention. I'm not saying that people are going to be pumping in a ton of money to have PepperCast come in and kind of take care of their biz.
Yeah.
But at
Right.
the
Yeah.
same time, like we see it from time to time, and I'm not going to say that it's an annoyance by any means, but
Mm.
from
Mhm.
someone looking from the outside in, you say,
Mhm.
"Oh, this person looks like this person. This
Mhm.
person is blue. This person
Mhm.
is whatever. And
Yeah.
this one's a demon because of the horns or
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have the moms and dads coming in being like, why is this the same? Why are all these
Yeah.
VTubers the same? Same thing with techno. Same
Mhm.
thing with any EDM song. Why does it
Yeah.
Yeah.
sound?
Yeah.
Why is this sandstorm? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? So, and then on top of it too, like you were saying with Iron Mouse, is like,
Mhm.
again, she's just way up here. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would probably say 5/6 of the VTubers out there are trying to match her freak, trying to match
Yeah.
Yep.
that
Yeah.
attention and that energy
Yeah.
Yeah.
to get to that level. And again,
Mhm.
it's tough because I'm not saying
Yeah.
that cash is king. I'm not saying that money has
Yeah.
has
No,
any sort of
absolutely.
validity in it at all. But when
Yeah.
it does come down to spending those 3 days a year at a particular convention, those
Mhm.
conversations are super important to bring up. And as I
Yeah.
would kind of bring up the idea of, if the technology exists, there will be someone that is looking. Again, if you build it, they will come.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
wouldn't you
Yeah.
know, it only takes one VTuber to say, "Hey, something something PepperCast," and then everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
your emails are done. Like,
Oh, I
everybody's
know.
going to be
Yeah.
sliding in there being like, "Well, if they're doing
Yeah.
it, then they're going to do it."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
we bring up these concepts to say, okay, how are we doing? And that's kind of the reason for our
Mm.
show to begin with, is just like, there's tons of DJs that have great potential and they want to be able to
Mhm.
do some amazing things. Some of them
Yeah.
have done amazing things, but they don't know how they want to further that. So it's our
Mhm.
opportunity to sit here every week and say, "So, how are we feeling? How are we
Mm.
doing? Are
Yeah.
you burnt out yet? Do you need a little bit more attention? Do you need more promotion? Do you need something
Yeah.
going on?" And it's
Mhm.
that added attention that, like, hopefully will get us a little bit more grounded. Another great
Yeah.
example is like when the DMCA thing kind of happened with Twitch.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
needed to come together as a community and say, is this going to be the next big step? And again, I would
Yeah.
hate to plant the seed and say, you guys are doing some really amazing things with video technology and 3D modeling and stuff like that too, and dancing. And again, you're not
Mhm.
an agency. I think an agency would be
Yeah.
able to find the tools necessary to accommodate their client to get
Mhm.
the tools to succeed, get them what they need. Um,
Yeah.
but being able to understand that, explain it, and then I wouldn't want to put it up as a high hope, being like, "Hey, VTubers over here,
Mhm.
3D modeled person over here,
Yeah.
click, connect the two, something's bound to happen." You got steam coming out of your ears, and I want to know
I
why.
do. Yeah, because there's like if the question is how are we doing, I actually think that we are stuck right now
Duck?
in a 2D world.
Oh, stuck. Yeah, I thought you said duck.
Stuck.
Yeah,
Duck. We're also
I
duck.
heard it
you're
too.
duck. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We're stuck in a 2D world right now because the prominent talent right now is 2D, and I think that's
Mhm.
great. I have nothing against it, but it has a cap of immersion, and it has a
Yeah.
formula, and that formula works, but there is a next step that is a logical progression from 2D to 3D when it comes to delivering a more immersive experience. And you will only ever, it doesn't matter how big your TV or your LED wall is, a 2D avatar is always going to be a 2D avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just from the waist up, it's cute. You get the voice is the thing that carries it more than the visual, right? So there's more proof of that. But at some point, every single performance that I have seen that an agency has facilitated has been a pre-recorded animation where they bring their talent into a mocap studio, or they hire mocap talent to record the movement ahead of time so that they don't worry about it not working or their talent. Like, again, Iron Mouse is not a badass ninja that can do 3 somersaults, kick a guy's gun out of his hand, and like do a sweep kick and then a fan kick and then disarm.
Iron
and there's a
Mouse
pile of
is
bodies.
not Leon. Okay.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
But have I seen Iron Mouse do that? Absolutely. like it's a piece of content that like Iron Mouse kicks everyone's butt. And I was like, there's no way she did that. That's not actually Iron Mouse. That's an animation of Iron Mouse's character as like an imagined piece of lore, which again, awesome. I love that. But how cool would it be if that was live? And like, to me, that is again where we keep coming back, and that's where we're at, is like live and AR are the two things that you're going to see our group continue to push the envelope on, because that's the secret sauce combination that is going to bring this into reality for a lot of people. And it's the fantasy that you see on Star Trek. If you've played Mass Effect, this is my favorite store on this, like all that stuff of ads responding to you while you're walking by, and holograms and androids and all of that lives in a world where live AR is common. And going back to that MIT example, to bring it all full circle, we're developing what we're developing now, not because we think that this is it. It's because it's the tools we need to get to where we know it will be it, which is, again, live AR content. So we'll eventually get there. We're proxying everything in our workflows to get there. And that's like, I hope I'm still alive when we get there.
Sure,
It's
sure.
Like, it's what I'll say. Because like we're investing a lot in like helping it get there, I think.
And
that's
it's taking a lot more time, but at the same time too, every year I feel like you guys are getting closer, we're getting closer, the scene is getting closer, and it's a healthy amount. I think it's kind of like like moonlighting or limelighting. It's just once you taste what it's like to have popularity, and then you get popular, and then at some point in time, and then that's it. And then the people that are consistent with their work over a certain amount of time, all of it is just going to be fun as opposed to demanding. And here it's just that it's never demanding enough that it will cause it to fail. I think it was Mark Zuckerberg's want for it to be popular that drove it down. Here it's just a consistent, we're coming in and having a good time with it and just really thinning it out so much that we're enjoying it that we don't want it to crack. So I think that whole concept is super important to understand, especially for a nice healthy succession into the next whatevers moving forward. Speaking of which, now that we've come full circle with this, what is the future of PepperCast? What are we going to be experiencing in the near future? And this would be a nice little hint to your little project for the TV thing that you were mentioning earlier.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple things in the books. We're booking out our calendar for this year right now. Our goal, and I'm happy to say this as well on the show, is we're aiming to appear at 6 conventions a year currently with the team that we have. And I think we've, as of a meeting 2 days ago, confirmed that we met that number for the year. Yep. So that's where we know that won't break the team. So we can't announce all of them yet, but we can talk about Level Up Expo, which is going to be in Vegas coming up here in a few weeks. So we're going to be working
Not a
with...
few weeks, it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. We're we're going to be working with VR Villa, VR Village. So we're going to be sharing some floor space with them, and they've got a really cool outfit where they do bring those, 30, 40, 50 headsets and just give people access. And that's part of kind of a pilot. This will be our first show working together to see if there's a way for us to link their VR like walk up experience of like, here's a headset, pick a game, have a fun time.
I love
And,
seeing the corrals
like-
of VR people just like move,
Oh, they're so good.
move, and then,
Yes.
they're like trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've got all the logistics for their team, and we're kind of clicking in as a really awesome way of not just seeing the cattle
Yeah.
look, but them being like, oh wait, that person's over here, but wait, that's giving it a little bit of a linked experience while also running our meet and greet, and keeping that kind of iterating. So Level Up Expo is going to be a really fun one for us. Vegas is always a blast, and we are in talks with various people at MomoCon, again, to be determined on that one, but we would love to solidify something. The challenge with us is we keep pushing to be on the guest roster, and we keep ending up in like the vendor pool as well. So that's a shift we're pushing to be like, guys, we're guests. We're not vendors. We're a nonprofit. We don't sell anything. Please, like, help get us here. So that's always a fun challenge. But we do have some internal changes that we're making to like help find some people to staff and help kind of negotiate and be a part of that pre-pro. We don't have anything concrete to announce with Meow Wolf yet, but we are continuing our relations with them in general, and specifically out of the Dallas Grapevine location. So that's something that was just like, check our socials, join our Discord. Like we'll post as soon as we have anything confirmed with them as far as events. And one point of clarification is that Turtles and I are staff at MagFest, but the portal is not PepperCast.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that I say that out loud.
We help. Whoa.
We help.
Yep.
Yeah, we bring our. Clearly, we're very good at VR.
I do booth.
Yeah.
I'm really
White
good
Mage.
at booth.
Yeah, Bazatron. So that's something that we're going to be developing further as we go. And then there are a lot of initiatives and like if you look in our Discord server, if you were given a magic wand to see all our channels, you would see like 80 different channels that just represent our like initiatives and projects that we're actively developing. So I can't really talk about those, but like there are some really cool things coming out of that. One thing I can talk about is that we did develop we call him Simulcam Sam, an avatar. And what that does is it marries the virtual camera in game with a real life camera, and it links their positions with a tracking system so that you can film both at the same time and have a real-time composite of both realities. So in VR, you can toggle off the background and just have the talent, or you could use just the background from VR and have your IRL talent in that world, or have them share space. Like you can choose and mix and match between VR and IRL what you want.
Yep.
That sounds like something we could use on the show.
Right? And like this all sources out of the fact that like my day job is these really high-end versions of this. So a plug that I definitely want to make sure I give to our group is that we are like the lean mean XR machine. We've got our workflow down to, I think we've only had one actual failure. The event still happened despite, like it still was a success, but in our 70 or so events that we've done now, we've had only one actual failed event that I would consider a failure to launch. And we learned from that, and we iterated it, and we changed a lot of stuff and changed software that we used, and invested in more professional equipment after that. But like we have the ability to show up at a convention or at a nightclub with 2 to 3 people and run our whole outfit.
Yep.
And when I talk to other people and I look at other teams, I see them like really trying to tackle this with like a whole crew of people that are all contributing, volunteer hours or little bits and pieces here and there. But I think that that's something that I'm really proud of from our team, is that we were like, what is the MVP here? Like, what can we actually pull off with the least amount to get the most out of it? And using my years of show experience, your years of production experience and management, and we really were able to like hone down to a really efficient team. And it gets a little scaled here if we want to add like a Twitch stream or something else like that, because that just needs a person. But like that's a plug that I just want to put out into the universe, that like I'm so proud of what we've accomplished when it comes to just a rock solid solution that does not crash, that stays alive. We do the work beforehand to make sure that the internet and the testing and all of that stuff gets validated before we agree to go on site. Like we've figured it out. And like that to me is the coolest part out of all of it. And it doesn't matter really where I announce where we're going to be next to me, because I know that when we get there, we're going to put on a good show and no one's going to leave disappointed, at least. And I can't say the same for a lot of the groups that I am observing adjacent to what it is we're trying to attempt.
And I'm really hoping that a lot of people take that into consideration too, that a small success is still a success. A win is a win. Yeah. But you can also have really big successes, and that can kind of, kickstart a whole another bunch of successes. And again, talking about that graph that you were saying, how you have ups and downs, occasionally that happens too. So not every success is a success, but being able to have consistent successes, even if they are smaller, they will lead into much greater things, and being able to achieve it and having a breath of fresh air of just being like, you don't have to work too hard. And you're also hyper skilled to be able to just pump out a really good product. You could wake up and be like, oh, 5 minutes, here we go. And then boom, you're done. You've got it. So being able to hear that too is wonderful too. And being able to read the history of all your successes previous to leading up into this point, obviously that kudos to you and your team to be able to provide such an amazing product to also represent all of us in here, which is a very fun thing to talk about. It's VRCDJ Live, and we're just kind of coming up with the last couple of minutes here with SkyLight and Turtles of PepperCast. And just like normal, when we have our guests on the program, we do like to do a quick rapid fire. Might be a little bit difficult for you because you do like to talk a lot of your answers, but
I do. Yes.
but that's fine.
I'm on 1%.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a true rapid fire question, of course.
There we go.
Out of everything that we've kind of talked about tonight, let's just say somebody wants to either approach you or talk about more about this type of technology, or maybe even want to help out with staff or volunteering and stuff like that. What's a really good word of advice to be able to approach you even at convention time?
Join the Discord.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Answer's done. Yeah, Discord would definitely be a really good response to that.
Seriously. Yeah.
How frequent do you guys talk in the Discord? Do you guys constantly like
Every
share
day,
stories?
constantly, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, as long as people are engaging, we're responding.
We'd love to hear that, and of course, so you'll be able to get the Discord information via the link tree. I would assume that we have up on the overlay like that. What are a couple of I was going to say, what are a couple of things that you guys have been listening to? But obviously everybody's choices. I'm going to jump to the actual question that everybody loves an answer to is, who are the top 3 VRChat DJs that we get to know that you may have kind of seen and favorited from time to time?
I know one of
my
yours.
favorite one is Oral Umbra, for sure.
Great. I actually got to see him perform the other day, and I was like, I can't believe I've never seen you perform. It's crazy.
So good.
Yep.
Juno Tanuki was good. We've had him for an event.
Yep.
Hmm.
I will say when Rue does a Psytrance set, I'm done. It's over. I'm gone.
Hooked.
Wherever she goes, I go. Like it is game on.
I will give you
Yeah.
guys your own way of answering this. Normally we have if you were going to put together your 5 spaces for the VRChat Raver bingo card, what would they
Mm.
be? But I will let you either answer it like that or the 5 spaces of the pop culture convention bingo card.
Ooh. Smell someone before you see someone.
Hey, yo. No joke. That's for real.
Yep. Oh, I don't know. Are we losing turtles? She said 1%. This is such a good question for her too.
Ooh. In Zen.
All right. We'll cover that, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
covering now.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay, so oh goodness. Oh, hey Scoots. Thanks for posting the links in there, Zev. So I guess while we cover for turtles, another bingo card. I would say, well, definitely. Oh, that's AI.
Oh, at a convention, being
Is
like, oh,
that
they're pointing
AI?
that like that artwork is AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing someone say AI just in general. There was a drinking game that the the dancers came up with, and I was like, guys, please don't die. Where they were like, every time they hear the word AI, they all took a drink, and I was like, you're going to die.
Ooh.
You're actually gonna die.
Mhm.
Please don't do this. But yeah, that was a wild event.
So I think you got 2 more.
Okay, got it. And then we'll let her have 4. I think that there's also, if I go into the VR side, the number of time a bingo card is just seeing an avatar crumpled on the floor. I hate to see it, but it's always like that person either is having a really good time or a really bad
Yeah,
time right
pretzel
now.
mode probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, what's another good one? It's a classic, and I love it, and I'm cheesy for it. But when people specifically use the snowfall emoji, and it's everyone who does it, and you just get that really awesome moment of like just snowflakes over the DJ that everyone just loved the set from, and like being in the snowfall while also like I don't know, there's just something magical about that specific thing that happens in VR that I love.
We've been trying to figure out a good way to replicate that, especially for new raver events. And like, I'm not saying that at any point in time during a pop culture convention rave that they're going to start implementing that. They got their own styles and things going on here. But
Yeah.
when you do see some VRChat ravers doing stuff IRL, we're trying to figure out other ways that we could do that without it being like paper confetti or actual confetti.
Right, yeah.
Or I know another popular thing is to actually print out the snowflakes as a print, and just hold it up, which is kind of
Trying
weird.
Way too hard. Everyone just needs to get AR HoloLens.
It would just be a matter of all of us at a rave with the. I mean, listen, there's already been plenty of people like wanting to hire me, saying, "Oh, you're a virtual reality DJ. Why don't you get up on stage and put your VR headset on and DJ?" And I'm be like, "Well, I can't see anybody. What's going on with that?"
Now, in our system, you could, because you would have the camera view as if you were still on stage, and your avatar would be on the screens behind you.
Oh, I mean, that's a good way of kind of handling it. Turtles is back, in kind of PC mode. So yeah, and that's perfectly okay. Did you want to answer your own version of what a bingo card would be?
Oh gosh, no, of things I see in VR at events.
Well, I was gonna let you choose between like what would your bingo be? The 5 spaces of bingo be from a VRChat rave or something that you've seen at conventions.
Oh gosh. Okay, so for conventions, let's see. Lately, it's been who do I always see? lately I always see a Denji.
Yeah.
At least gosh, what are the things I always see? Okay, there's always at least one cow made outfit, even though there is no theme or character based on it. Um, and then there's always like somebody dressed up as like, like the most goth character that they can be, which I'm very happy for them. There's always somebody that's always dressed as and I haven't actually seen this one, the blonde girl from Death Note. And yeah, no, always. And there's always somebody in a JoJo cosplay. I always see a JoJo cosplay.
Yeah, her job is, and one of the things that she does is, oh, I love your cosplay, as a way of like starting conversations and getting people to come over. So she is like cosplay scouting every day that we're at the shows.
Half the time the VTuber may or may not actually watch anime, so I also have to tell the VTuber what the character is, where it's from, even if I may or may not have seen the show. So I also have to be like the lore dictionary for them, or encyclopedia.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of the same thing too. Is like if you're gonna go to a mascotted character at a theme park and be like, "Oh, it's their birthday," and then they have to like be visually like excited without actually speaking because they can't speak, but like they have to find a reason to interact with them at that time. But that's all very exciting. Before we get on out of here, where can we find you guys on the internet?
We definitely have our link tree, which is the best place. We are on Blue Sky now as well. And when we do have the ability to stream on Twitch, it's usually an event where we are doing some sort of a portal event. And we are starting to do monthly events in VR. We just opened up a new VR venue called Stratos. It's all themed off of the production design of Ken Adam, who did all the James Bond movies.
Bond.
Yep. So it's a mix of that and kind of like the GoldenEye 64 aesthetic a little bit, but in a venue. Yeah, so you're on the rooftop of like a big concrete complex, and you can see like a whole island around you, like you're on the island of a criminal mastermind of some kind. But we're having a lot of fun with that, and there's a lot of lore that went into that world. So you can find us in VR at our VRC group, which is PepperCast.
We are also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
It's good to be able to be on all the different platforms. I know a lot of people they get a little overwhelmed when it comes to the social medias. And the way I see it, it's like, it's free right now. I mean,
we may not even post on our TikTok, but we do have one.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Rob.
Oh,
what's your bingo card from running a podcast?
Oh man,
people hitting the wall for sure.
Yeah, the one thing that we've been getting so far is that there's glass over there. I think a lot of people can't really see it, but we got a dent over there now, so people be running into our wall. I guess ultimately, people are constantly nervous. If you're being on a podcast in general, is being nervous. I will say my free space happens to be you're the guy from drinking night. That always tends to be a flavor for everybody in VR, so that's exciting.
I finally saw that the other day. Somebody actually finally
we took her over because we were like,
the drinking night. Okay, yeah.
You're gonna be on the podcast, like you have to have seen.
How does it feel to experience 7 years of VRChat lore in one space?
It's so fascinating. Like the song started playing and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like taking me back to like I remember the first time I heard these songs. It's been so long.
I'm surprised that you didn't wake up any of the sleeping drunks that are over there because they hear it all the time. Yeah.
We definitely did a private instance. We didn't want to throw her in the deep end. So
Yeah, I still have yet to go to the Black Cat, which I'm good, honestly.
No, we'll get you
Yeah,
there. eventually.
in time, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave the other two for another time. But I do want to wrap up because
Fair.
it is a little bit later. But
Yeah.
SkyLight and Turtles of PepperCast, thank you guys so much for coming on the show and kind of talking to us about what you guys have been cooking up and what we can look forward to in the future. I know a lot of DJs are excited. I'm not saying that they're going to be knocking down your door, but we keep those conversations going, and 2027 can be a whole
Yeah.
nother beast. So thank you
Yeah.
guys for coming on the show, and I'm looking forward to coming to hang out with you very soon.
Yeah,
Heck
thank
yeah.
you so much for having us.
And that's going to do it for us for VRCDJ Live, of course, with all the housekeeping that we've got going on. We're all over the internet as well. We have our own link tree at VRCDJ Live, where you can find us on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, as well as getting the highlights and the replays of our show up on YouTube. But normally we have our highlights on Fridays, and the full show goes up Sunday morning, just in case you missed it live here. You can also see the highlights available for you up on Instagram, as well as some other very fun things that we've got cooking up on Instagram as well. And the fun thing about the link tree, too, that if you are a DJ or a community member or you own a club or you want to just come on here and talk about what we've got cooking on, we've got the Google Forms for you to fill out and for you to pique our interest and why you would want to be a member on our show, or even if you wanted to join us for our staff as well. We're always looking for staffers on our show. You can find all of that up on the link tree. We're taking a week off. It's a bye week here on VRCDJ Live, which is great because we get to work on all sorts of stuff behind the scenes to get you ready for the following week, which, believe it or not, our next guest on the show, not next week, but the following week, we're going to be joined by Purity Star to not only talk about all of the things that they've been working on, the DJing. They are also being featured in a Slyfest mini coming up. I believe it's this weekend, as well as their performance on Shelter and all of the other fun visual stuff that they're working on, including an originally drawn OC, I believe, as well as some new visuals integrating 2D and 3D animation, which is just, again, a whole nother skill that you're either in it or you're interested in it and you want to see more of it. So again, that's going to be happening not this week, but the following week, and you can peep the schedule for all of our guests up online, up on X and Blue Sky. So for SkyLight and Turtles and PepperCast guests on the show, and the VRC DJ Live staff behind the glass, I'm Rob Roman. Thank you guys for coming by, and we will see you next time.